Hello, everyone. Welcome to Zen and Fanfics. Today we are featuring What If Deku Had Jaguar as Spirit Animal? The story is written by PhoenixFics on Wattpad. Before we start, please like and subscribe for more content. Now, let's dive into the story. In the society Izuku inhabited, people's souls were intricately tied to an animal's soul that reflected certain shared traits. These spirit animals held diverse powers that could be bestowed upon their human companions, though not every spirit animal possessed such abilities. For instance, Izuku's mother had a spirit animal named Chip, a Russian blue cat with strikingly unnatural green eyes. Despite its captivating appearance, Chip, unfortunately, lacked any inherent powers. Most people find their spirit animal at around 9 or 10 years old. At the age of 16, Izuku remained without an animal companion, something that he had already embraced. Despite coming to terms with this reality, he refused to let it deter his aspirations of becoming a hero. The absence of a spirit animal might have closed certain paths for him, but Izuku was determined to overcome the odds and pursue his dream. Izuku, his mother called from the kitchen, snapping Izuku out of his thoughts. He jumped out of bed and raced around his room, getting dressed, dashing to the kitchen where his mother was cooking breakfast. He slowed down and walked past the counter where Chip was perched watching him with its judgmental eyes. "Morning, Mum. Morning, Chip," he said, petting the feline. "Morning, Izu. Chip says morning too." Inko smiled, sliding him a plate of bacon and eggs. Chip meowed and ate the bit of bacon Mum slid towards him. "Who is it you're visiting today again?" Inko asked, sitting next to Izu. "Shoto." He smiled. He had been friends with Shoto for a while now, and ever since Sho got accepted into UA with Tanner, his fox who wielded the power of both ice and fire, he would go and visit him. "Okay, travel safe. Call me if you need anything." She smiled at him. Izu finished eating and took the plate to the sink. "Will do, Mom," he replied as he finished cleaning his dishes and gave his mother a kiss on the cheek. The UA campus was only a 30-minute walk from his house. It was a walk he quite often enjoyed, the warm sun heating his pale skin that never seemed to burn or tan. Quiet footfalls of people and their beasts headed either to work or home. Before long, he had arrived at UA's large gates and saw a certain figure standing waiting for him. "Sho!" Izu grinned, running up to the male. Tanner yipped as he saw Izu leaping into his arms when he got closer. "Yes, hello to you," to Tanner. Izuku smiled at the red fox in his arms. "Let's go play video games," Shoto said, walking back into the school's campus. Izuku, putting Tanner down, raced to catch up to him. The campus was huge, and the class dorms were on the other side of the school. So in other words, a long walk. We were halfway there when alarms sounded. "What's the alarms for?" Izu asked, picking up on Shoto tensing. "Rouge spirit animal," Shoto said, running ahead of him, Tanner by his side. Tanner said it smells like a woodland jaguar. "What, like a woodland jaguar?" Izu asked, running beside Shoto. Woodland jaguars, an exceptionally rare species that are believed to have originated from the very earth they tread upon. Their strength is unparalleled, and their unique abilities include the capacity to communicate with any animal and manipulate the surrounding greenery. Despite their extraordinary traits, these enigmatic creatures have never formed a bond with any individual, adding an air of mystery to their existence. Soon, they arrived at the dorms since they weren't allowed to engage the jaguar. Izuku has been in these dorms quite a few times, so he got quite the welcome, although Izu's eyes were drawn to a newcomer standing in the corner. His spiky blonde hair stood out, pointing upward with a dynamic and fiery energy. He had a well-built and muscular physique that made Izu's heart skip a beat. But his eyes, sharp and intense, with crimson-red irises. These were eyes Izu could get lost in. Izu shook his head. What was he thinking? Gosh, he was too gay for this. A large black wolf stood by the blonde's side staring at Izuku. A volcanic wolf, Izu thought, categorizing it. He hadn't realized he'd been staring until the wolf started walking forward. Izu glanced up and met the red eyes of the blonde, who was now standing in front of him. "Be nice, Katsuki," Shoto said, looking at the blonde. The wolf snarled at Tanner, and the little fox stared back with a calm gaze reflecting Shoto's own. The wolf turned its large head and stared into Izuku's eyes. Its black fur glistened and looked soft. He longed to pet it to see if it was as soft as it looked, but it was rude to touch another spirit animal without permission. Katsuki stood back and watched his wolf interact with the small greenette. Everyone held their breath, and the large wolf leaned towards Izuku. He didn't flinch. Instead, Izu continued to look into the wolf's eyes. He could tell this wolf was an alpha, and the only way to gain an alpha's respect was to not back down. Tanner growled softly at the wolf as it was so close to Izuku that he could feel its warm breath on his face. Izu had noticed that the volcanic wolf had increased its size to its natural state. Most spirit animals that came from nature could change its size, so he wasn't surprised. Although he was surprised when he felt a wet tongue wipe up his face. Ho-dash! Shoto started when a loud crash sounded, and the woodland jaguar now stood in front of them, occupying the once empty space. The woodland jaguar's eyes glowed with an intense teal-green hue, a striking and otherworldly feature that added an air of mystique to its presence. Its fur bore a subtle green tinge, and the rosettes, intricately patterned spots on its coat, were a deeper shade of green, almost verging on black. The overall effect created a mesmerizing and camouflage-like appearance in the lush surroundings. Toweringly large in its true size, the jaguar surpassed even the volcanic wolf in stature, its powerful and majestic form evoking a sense of primal strength. Despite its imposing presence, the creature bore the visible injuries, with multiple wounds marring its once pristine coat and beginning to cover its fur with the bright cherry red of its BLD. Katsuki's wolf boldly positioned itself in front of Izuku, emitting a low and menacing snarl directed at the larger predator. The air was charged with tension as the two creatures faced off, a silent but intense communication of territorial boundaries and protective instincts. The wolf's stance was defensive, ready to confront any threat, while its snarl conveyed a clear warning to the larger predator, daring it to challenge it. As a tense standoff unfolded, a sudden shadow cast itself over the scene. A massive grizzly bear emerged, standing at the broken window, its imposing presence commanding attention. With swift determination, the grizzly lunged at the jaguar, using its formidable strength to propel the feline out of the building. The dust settled as All Might, the symbol of peace, touched down beside the bear, his powerful figure a reassuring symbol of authority. A fierce and intense combat ensued between the bear and the jaguar, the clash of titans echoing through the surroundings. Powerful blows were exchanged, each creature showcasing its strength and agility in the struggle for depths. The skirmish reached its CLMX as the jaguar, recognizing the formidable opponent, made a swift decision. With a burst of speed, the feline disengaged from the battle, racing off the campus and disappearing into the surrounding woods. The echoes of the struggle lingered, leaving the bear standing victorious, its imposing presence a testament to the wild and unpredictable nature that encroached upon the once peaceful campus. "Are you okay?" All Might inquired, concern etched across his face as he addressed the students. Meanwhile, the grizzly bear, named Noah, approached All Might with a measured stride. Noah, it seemed, was not just an ordinary bear. He held the esteemed role of being All Might's animal companion. "All good here," Mina said, glancing in the direction the feline raced off in. Katsuki walked forwards and placed his hand on his wolf's back. "Good boy, Kai." Izu was sent home soon after that. In the midday sun, Izuku found himself lying on his bed, replaying the earlier events of the day in his mind. A heavy sigh escaped him as he pondered the unfolding events. Determination flashed in his eyes as he reached for an empty bag, swiftly gathering his first aid kit and zipping it up. Acknowledging that his idea might be considered foolish, Izuku couldn't bear the thought of leaving the wounded woodland jaguar unattended. With a sense of purpose, he prepared to venture into the woods. As Izuku pressed deeper into the woods, a sense of doubt crept into his thoughts. 3 hours had passed since he embarked on this seemingly foolish idea, and the elusive woodland jaguar remained elusive. These creatures were notorious for being near impossible to find, and here he was, wandering through the dense forest, challenging the odds. The realization of the improbability of his quest weighed heavily on him. These beings had a knack for avoiding discovery, yet Izuku persisted, driven by a determination that defied the rational doubts lingering in his mind. The daunting task ahead only fueled his resolve, propelling him forward into the unknown depths of the forest. Izuku was about to call it and head home when he tripped and tumbled down the hill beside him. He hit the ground below hard, leaving him gasping for air. Once his breath had returned to normal, he rolled to the side and froze. The familiar stare of the intense teal green met his from the undergrowth. A soft snarl rumbled through the air. "Hold up, please, I don't want to fight you," Izuku said, trying not simply say, "Please don't kill me." The snarl softened but lingered as Izuku sat up slowly, opening his bag with deliberate care. Retrieving the first aid kit, he noticed a change in the atmosphere. The snarling ceased. This time, with cautious determination, Izuku rose to his feet and approached the hidden creature beneath the brush. "I just want to help," he reassured, his voice gentle. Pushing through the bushes, he came face to face with the injured jaguar. Blood seeped from multiple wounds, painting a grim picture of the struggles the majestic creature had faced. Izuku took a moment to assess the injuries, his compassion and longing to aid this elusive being outweighing any fear that might have lingered. "I'm glad I got a cert in spirit animal first aid," Izuku joked, slowly stepping towards the injured animal. When the jaguar didn't react other than moving so it could watch him, he knelt beside it and began pulling everything he needed out of the first aid kit. With everything prepared, Izuku began the delicate task of cleaning out the jaguar's wounds. As he worked, a deeper realization struck him. The creature was not only wounded, but severely malnourished. The signs of neglect and hardship became more evident with each careful movement. Izuku's empathy deepened. "Why are you so skinny?" he murmured as he finished wrapping the last wound. He turned and met the woodland jaguar's eyes. In a mesmerizing transformation, the jaguar before Izuku's eyes began to shrink. The once majestic creature morphed into a small kitten, its fur retaining the subtle green tinge and its gaze still bearing the familiar teal eyes. The tiny feline stared up at Izuku, almost like it was waiting. Izuku sighed, a mixture of relief and affection, as he carefully lifted the wounded jaguar, cradling it gently in his arms. However, to his surprise, the small creature had other plans. With a determined climb, it ascended to the top of Izuku's head, finding a comfortable perch amidst his green curls. The jaguar, now in its kitten form, seemed to have found solace and warmth, promptly drifting off to sleep. With night falling, Izuku set out on his way home, a tiny kitten nestled comfortably in his curls, fast asleep. "So you two aren't bonded?" Inko asked the next morning, looking down at the jaguar still in its kitten form. "No." Izuku smiled down at the jaguar, who stared back at him with large eyes. Once he arrived home yesterday, he gently placed the kitten on the floor before tucking himself into bed. The next morning, he woke up to discover the adorable creature snuggled against his chest. Its wounds healed. Izuku's phone chimed with an incoming call, and the caller ID revealed Shoto's name on the screen. "What's up, Sho?" Izuku said into the phone. "UA's letting us go camping, and while you're coming. Do I get choice in this?" Izuku asked his mom, sending him a questioning look. "No. Be at UA by 10 a.m., Shoto in the call." Izuku looked at his watch, 9 a.m. Izuku left the house, leaving the woodland jaguar in his mother's capable arms, and began the walk to UA, arriving at exactly 10. "You're late," Sho said, glaring at him. "It's 10 on the DOT." Izuku screamed, pointing to his watch. "Whatever, come on." Sho walked towards his classmates assembled inside the gates. Izuku could see All Might and his bear, but he also saw a racerhead with a little silver kitten sleeping in his scarf. He drew the conclusion that they were supervisors. "Mito!" Mina yelled, waving. Izuku waved in acknowledgement and assisted Shoto in carrying a few items, considering he had only brought his backpack. With their belongings in tow, they set off on their trek into the woods. Izuku was lost in his thoughts when he felt something furry bump into his side. Startled, Izuku looked up and saw Kai gazing back at him. The large black wolf slowed its pace to match Izuku's. "He likes you," said a gruff voice from Izu's other side. He turned and looked at Katsuki. "Well, I like him too." Izu smiled in the wolf's direction. "I'm Midoriya. Izuku, nice to meet you," Izu said, offering Katsuki his hand. "Bakugo, Katsuki," the blonde replied, ignoring Izuku's stretch-out hand. "Where's your animal?" Katsuki asked, looking around. "I don't have one." Izu smiled sadly. At this, Katsuki looked surprised and stayed quiet. "How did you meet Kai?" Izuku asked, attempting to break the awkward silence. "When I was 10, I got lost in the forest. Kai found me and guided me home. After that, he never left. It took a couple of days for the bond to set in," Kat said, softly looking at his wolf. "We are here, young students," All Might yelled as the group entered the clearing. Everyone jumped straight into setting up the campsite. That would be their base for the next week. There are a few rules. Eraserhead started. Number 1, no boys in the girls' tents, and Ani droned about rules he knew no one would follow. Whatever now, go have fun. 3 days into the camp, and Izuku was thoroughly enjoying himself. Currently, they were engaged in the activity of picking berries that had been deemed safe to eat. "I'm so going to pick more berries than you, Bakubro," Kiri teased Katsuki. "Yeah, right?" he retorted, and picked berries even faster, eliciting a chuckle from Izuku, who was busy picking berries nearby. Although he stopped laughing when a large shadow fell over him. Izu turned to look up into the angry eyes of a rock tiger. Image on top of chapter. Izuku froze, eyes wide. He heard Kai snarl from across the clearing, but no one moved, worried they would further provoke the beast. "Stay calm, Midoriya," Aizawa said. Izuku got in trouble, calling him Eraserhead. Izuku took a deep breath, recalling everything he could about a rock tiger. They were incredibly territorial and aggressive. Yeah, Izuku stopped thinking about them after that. The tiger snarled, lowering its head until it was face to face with Izuku. Its rancid breath warmed his face, and he fought the urge to push it away. The tiger's ears pressed tightly against its head, signaling aggression. With a swift motion, it employed its paw, strengthened by rock-like features, to forcefully push Izuku to the ground. The weight of the creature's substantial paw bore down on his chest, making each breath a struggle beneath the imposing force. Although it wasn't there for long, another animal burst from the bushes behind Izuku and collided with the tiger, freeing him from its grasp. Izuku coughed and stood up quickly, rejoining the group where Kai positioned himself in front of Izuku once more. Once Izu was out of the way, he looked at the battle taking place. "Wait, isn't that the woodland jaguar?" someone asked. Izuku gasped as he, too, recognized the jaguar fighting against the tiger. The battle quickly ended, and the rock tiger raced from the clearing, leaving the jaguar standing there panting. "Stay back," All Might snapped, moving to stand in front of the kids with Noah by his side. "And oh, wait." Izuku raced forward, pushing past Kai to stand between All Might and the jaguar. "Midoriya, come back now." All Might snapped. Izuku turned from them and faced the jaguar, extending his hand. Everyone held their breath as the jaguar walked forward, ignoring Izuku's hand, and instead bumped his chest with its nose, knocking him to the ground. The jaguar then nuzzled him, inspecting for any wounds with a gentle touch. When the jaguar seemed content, it lay down, placing its large head on Izuku's chest and gazing at him. Izuku met the familiar gaze of the jaguar and smiled, petting its head affectionately. In that instant, a profound sensation enveloped him, shrouding everything else in a distant haze as a comforting warmth flooded his chest. Izuku, utterly captivated, couldn't divert his gaze from the jaguar. Its large, expressive eyes held him in a mesmerizing trance. Amidst this enchanting connection, a soft, soothing voice resonated in his mind. "My name is Asa," it purred. Then the world came flooding back, although the warmth remained like a balm to his soul. Izuku shook his head and blinked. Did he just bond with that? Mineta asked. Yes, he did. Shoto smiled. Yes, he did. Izuku grinned at the jaguar resting on his chest. In return, Asa transformed into a tiny kitten, now perched comfortably on Izuku's chest. Rising to his feet, Izuku watched as Asa relocated, settling once more in his hair. Ah, that's adorable. Ah. Mina couldn't contain her excitement and raced forwards to examine the little kitten snuggled in Izu's hair. All Might and Mr. Aizawa exchanged glances before relaxing their stances. Shoto strode towards Izuku Tanner, trotting at his side. Look at that. I honestly thought that rock tiger was going to eat you, he said in his monotone voice. Same. Izuku laughed, softly rubbing his chest. Asa meowed, softly standing and staring into Izuku's eyes from above. What's up, Asa? Izu asked the little feline. I never thanked you for saving me. His voice spoke softly in his mind. Izuku shrugged, moving Asa from his head to his arms. You're not hurt, are you? Izuku looked over the little jaguar for any signs of injury from his recent battle. No, I'm a woodland jaguar. You think that tiger could have hurt me? He puffed out his chest and wiggled out of Izuku's hands, landing on the ground with a huff. A large black wolf suddenly approached, gently bumping Izu with its head, before lowering its large head so it could stare into the eyes of Asa. If you were 1 second later, cat, he would have died, Kai snapped. Asa rolled his eyes. Izuku's jaw dropped as he stared at Kai with wide eyes. What's wrong, Izu? Shoto asked, frowning. I can understand him, Izu replied, pointing at Kai, who raised his head to look at him. Izu, can you hear me, Izu? A little voice barked, drawing Izuku's eyes to the ground. There stood an excited little fox. Yes, Tanner, I can hear you, Izuku smiled. The little fox ran around in circles, yipping incoherently. Stupid Deku. Izuku frowned, turning around to see a certain blonde. Are you calling me Deku? Izu asked, pointing to himself. What do you think, Deku? He replied. I don't know, Kakin. Izu replied, smiling. Kakin was about to reply, but Kai bumped him with his head. The light began to fade as the sun's golden rays dipped behind the surrounding mountains. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking and telling stories. Asa never left Dekus' lap, but he would stare at the other animals playing in the clearing behind them. Go play, Izu said softly to his new animal companion. Asa shook his head violently. Oh, why not? Izuku asked. I don't think they like me. Last time I saw them, they were ready to attack me, Asa stated, remembering the school incident. About that, why did you attack the school? This question drew the attention of his surrounding friends. I didn't attack the school, Asa huffed, causing Izuku to raise an eyebrow. I was drawn to the school, okay. I think it was you, Asa admitted softly. I have come across your scent trails through the forest, so when I smelt you closer, I had to see. Izuku, though, back to when Asa leapt through the window. How had he missed the fact that he had been staring at him? Sighing, Izu stood and walked towards the other animals with Asa in his arms. Oh, well, I'm sure you and Kai can play, Izu set Asa on the ground and watched as the jaguar returned to his normal size. Having to look down slightly to meet Izuku's eyes. I will not play with that mutt, Asa snapped. And I will not play with an overgrown kitten, Kai growled, walking towards Deku. Now you two get along, Izu said, and turned, walking back to the group. Although he stopped when he heard soft paws behind him. Asa, Deku scolded, stop being antisocial. This caused his friends to laugh behind him. Asa rolled his eyes, turned, and walked straight past Kai to Tanner. Izuku was mumbling to himself when he sat back down with the others. How did Asa reply when you asked why he attacked Yue? Momo asked. He didn't attack Yue. He was following my scent, Asa stated. What to eat you? Mineta asked. Clearly not, Shoto told the stupid purple grape. What I don't get is why a woodland jaguar species that has never bonded with anyone decided to bond with you, All Might asked as he walked towards the group. Noah abbling off to the other animals. I agree, Aizawa added, his silver cat still asleep in his scaff. I think Silver's dead, he heard Kami whisper to Kirishima as they both looked at the cat. What you think is? Spirit animal has an ulterior motive for bonding to Deku, Shoto voiced, using Izuku's new nickname. All Might and Aizawa shared a look. Look, Bear, I don't have a reason. I bonded to Izuku. Asa yelled, although the others heard a roar. Izuku looked over his shoulder and saw the bear and Jaguar glaring at each other. He got up quickly and raced to the animals, putting himself between the two. Asa stepped closer to Deku in a protective way. Asa, Noah, enough, he yelled at the two towering animals. This isn't a conversation you should interrupt, cub, Noah told Izu. I'm not a cub, and I don't appreciate the way you are treating Asa, Izu snapped. I forced him over here to make friends, not to be yelled at by a cranky bear, Noah huffed and looked away. Izuku turned to Asa. And you, stop yelling and try having a civil conversation. Izuku growled at the Jaguar, who sighed and looked away. Look, Noah, I don't know why I bonded to Izu. Just like how you don't know why you bonded to you, human, Asa stated with a forced softness. Don't hate me since I don't trust you just yet, Noah answered. Deku rolled his eyes, but sensing the argument over, he left the two. As Izuku sat back down, the spirit animals returned to their humans. Asa walked over to Izuku and turned into his kitten form, quickly climbing to his green curls. Guess it's time for bed, Momo laughed. Deku slept that night, Asa curled in his arms. Once more, Izu was walking the familiar path home. A thuff, he wasn't alone this time. Asa sleeping soundly on his head made Deku smile. Mum, I'm home, Izuku yelled, walking through the door of his home. Izuku, look okay. I may have left the window open and the kit dash. Ink stopped and looked at the missing kitten on his head. Mum, this is Asa, my spirit animal. Asa woke and leapt of Izuku's head, becoming the same size as a normal jaguar. Large tears rolled down Inko's face as a smile burst to life. I knew it, she repeated, hugging Izu. Chip walked out into the room and spotted Asa. Hey, Fluffball, Chip greeted the other feline. Mittens, Asa replied, smiling down at Chip. Hey, Chip, Izuku smiled, bending to pet the Russian blue. Good to see you, kid, Chip replied. He said. Inko started. It's okay, Mum, I understood him. Izu smiled. Inko looked surprised, but then looked at Asa. Okay, well, dinner is nearly ready, so go get ready. Inko dismissed them and returned to the kitchen. Come on, Asa. Izuku was washing up when a knock sounded on the door. I got it, his mother yelled, opening the front door. Asa, who was back in kitten form and sitting on the bench, took a deep breath. I smell Noah, Asa stated. Izuku wiped his hands and walked to the front door, not surprised when he saw All Might and Noah standing at the door. May we come in? Another voice asked, causing Deku to look down. Of course, I will get some tea prepped. Izuku showed them in. Inko walked off to the kitchen. This way, please, All Might. Principal Nizu. Asa walked ahead of Izuku as he led the pros to the small sitting area. Hello, Midoriya, how are you? Nizu said after taking a seat. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Izuku replied on instinct. Good, good. Thank you, Miss Midoriya. Nizu said, accepting the tea as Inko passed a cup to him and All Might. Okay, let's get to the point why we are here. All Might said, smiling at Izuku. Yes, Izuku, we would like for you to become a student at UA Academy. Nizu stated, sipping his tea. What? Deku yelled, really? Yes, young Midoriya. You show potential, and no one has ever bonded with a woodland jaguar before. All Might explained, gesturing to Asa curled up on Izuku's lap. We have dorms on campus, so ideally you would just move to the campus. Nizu smiled, putting his now empty cup on the table nearby. Would you like to go, Izuku? Inko asked her son, already knowing the answer. Yes. Izuku jumped to his feet, causing Asa to tumble to the floor. Whoops, sorry, Asa. He smiled, picking up the green kitten, who huffed and climbed on his head. I give my permission, Inko said, smiling. Deku hugged Inko and began thanking Nizu repeatedly. As today is Thursday, we would like you at school by Saturday. That give you a day to settle in before school, Nizu stated, standing. All Might and Nizu left Noah, following from where he had been left outside. Once the door was closed, Deku turned to look at his mother. That did just happen, right? Yes, baby, you're going to be a hero. She grinned, pride glowing in her eyes. I'm going to be a hero, Izuku yelled. Asa let out a little roar as well. Izuku could have never been more thankful in his life, for the simple fact that now he's not alone. He glanced at the woodland jaguar walking beside him. Thank you for carrying that, Deku thanked his new friend. No problems, SQR, Asa said through their link. Currently, he gripped Izuku's substantial suitcase firmly between his teeth, carrying the weight effortlessly. The large gates of UA appear before them. Izu. He heard Tanner yip, as a certain dual-haired male came into view. Hey, Tanner. He grinned, dropping to his knees, petting the excited fox. He says, Shoto stopped. I forgot that you can understand him now. All good show. Izu grinned, standing much to the fox's disappointment. As Izuku and Asa stepped into the inviting ambience of the Class 1A dormitories, the gravity of the moment intensified. The realization dawned upon him with each echoing footstep through the corridor. Here, amidst the hallowed halls of academia, his dream quickly becoming a reality. The air was laden with a mix of anticipation and accomplishment, and as the door swung open to reveal the shared living space, the significance of his presence in that moment became all the more palpable. Asa looked over to him, happiness in his teal eyes, sensing Izu's change in mood. Izuku. He smiled and waved at his new classmates. I'm not even surprised that you got in with Asa being your spirit animal. Kami grinned, lightly punching Izu, his little lightning rat on his shoulder, struggling to hold on. Guys, let him unpack, Shoto said in his monotone voice, and pushing Izuku through the group. That puppy's not here, Asa said, looking around for the volcanic wolf. Izuku nodded in agreement, as he had Aloes noticed the absence of a certain fiery blonde. Time skip brought to you by Asa, cause he's great. The cool wind gently toss-sled the greenette's hair, his legs dangling over the edge of the roof as he looked over his city, admiring the way the lights contrasted the night sky and the soft melody of the busy traffic and occasional yelling wrapped around him. He ran his fingers through Asa's green fur as the feline curled up on his lap slept. So many people had once doubted the possibility of such an achievement. Yet here he sat. What are you doing up here at this hour, Deku? Came a familiar voice from behind him. Katsuki's POV. He had stood there for a while, watching the way the wind played with the boy's hair, silently enjoying the look of peace on his face. What are you doing up here at this hour, Deku? He asked softly, not wanting to startle him. Deku cast a fleeting glance behind him, his vivid emerald eyes looking into his. They were more than just eyes. They were windows to a soul cherished by someone who found solace and adoration in every subtle nuance and hue within their vibrant green depths. Enjoying the quiet, Deku's voice ripped him from his thoughts. Bakugo huffed and stalked forwards, taking a seat to the right of the smaller male. Kai, who had followed Cat, shrunk and curled into his lap. You look like you have something on your mind, he told the green net with a huff, looking out over the city. Nothing for you to worry about, Deku chuckled softly. Cat glanced out the corner of his eye, Dekus' eyes which looked out over the city held something, an emotion Bakugo could not identify. Well, school starts at 8:30, so I suggest you go to bed. With that, Cat left, leaving the boy to his thoughts. Izuku's POV. He could feel the Kachin's calculating gaze as he looked out over the city once more. Deku sighed and stood cradling Asa as to not wake the cat. Katsuki's gaze flashed through his mind as he walked towards his no dorm. The resolute gaze had held a sense of determination, akin to a blazing fire fueled by passion. The firm set of his brows and the focused gleam. Even in the dark, his eyes shone with the flames they held. Izu shook his head when he felt a soft blush crawl up his neck. He's probably not even into guys. Izuku sighed, opening and closing his door as quietly as possible. The crawling under his sheets, laying Asa down, ing the curl of his arms. Thankfully, sleep soon pulled him under. Flashback. The classroom around him was loud as his classmates chatted. Deku had been in this class now for a few months. He had been seated behind Kakin, not that he minded. Soft claws digging into his scalp brought him from his thoughts. Get out of your head, Asa huffed. Aizawa soon walked into the class, effectively shutting everyone up, and began the lesson. Okay, so we have a training camp coming up. so be ready to go by tomorrow. The school has given you the day to prep as we leave tomorrow. Now be gone." Aizawa left the room in a tired stagger. "We are all going shopping." Flashback ended, and here he was, standing at the mall, Asa looking around slightly from his perch on Izu's head, intimidated by the large crowd. "Okay, let's split off into groups." Mina yelled, quickly grabbing the Baku squad and running off before they could protest. Soon Uraraka and him stood alone. "So it's just Dash. Got to keep those pests away," she yells, running off, leaving him standing there looking after her retreating figure. "Well, Asa, it's just you and me," he sighed, pulling out his list and beginning his shop. Thankfully, the time flew, and he was soon walking back to the meet-up spot when suddenly an arm was laid across his shoulders, startling Asa. "Hey, you're from UA. I don't remember seeing you at the sports festival." Wow, was all Deku thought. How does he know I'm from UA? "Why, yeah, I am." He smiled, looking up. The man had light blue, unkempt hair that poked out from under his hoodie. He froze when he met the red eyes of the stranger. They were nothing like Bakugo's. These eyes held insanity. "Ah, we haven't met. I'm Shigaraki, Tamura." News reports flashed through his mind. Shigaraki, responsible for the death of many civilians and their animals' companions. A soft hiss drew his attention, and a large black snake glared at me from his sleeve. Asa snarled at both Shigaraki and his snake. "What does the kitten think if I bite his human?" The snake chuckled. "I think I would have snake for dinner." Asa snarled in reply. "Asa, calm down," Asa said. He knew he couldn't cause a scene, just like he knew Shigaraki wouldn't try anything. "Smart boy." Tamura smiled, sickly, moving his hand so 4 of his fingers were pressed against Izu's throat. Well, he hoped he wouldn't. Like, really hoped he wouldn't. A soft pink rabbit out the corner of his eye caught his attention before racing off. "Oh, thank the lords," he thought, as Yura's spirit animal dissaped into the crowd. Tamura guided, while more like dragged Izuku to the lip of the fountain before forcing him to sit. "I don't understand how you—" Tamura turned to look Deku up and down. "Convinced a woodland Jaguar to bond with you." He chuckled, his eyes settling on Asa, who glared back. "Well, seeing how it doesn't work like that," Asa laughed softly. "Hey, Deku, sorry about before." "Oh, was this a friend, Dash?" Yura trailed off as she fully took in what was in front of her. "Oh, looks like our time has been cut short. See you around Midoriya." Izuku, Tamura's snake, slithered back under his hood as the villain stood and began to quickly walk away. Shigaraki, Dash. Izu stood, suddenly bringing a hand to his throat. "What do you want with me?" Tamura laughed and disappeared into the crowd. Izu left the police station with a heavy sigh, climbing into the car UA had sent for him and sinking into the leather seat. After endless amounts of phone calls with his emotional mother, as well as calls from his classmates checking if he was okay, and the police questioning, saying he was exhausted just didn't cut it. So when he walked into the UA dorm and was bombarded by questions, No, Izu, don't cry, Momo tried to soothe him. Mom mode activated. "Listen, extras, Deku here has been through hell today. He's tired. I mean, look at Asa, for Christ's sake," snapped the angry blonde, pointing to the small feline who was quite literally sleeping with an eye open. Isa's cries quietened, and he wiped his nose on his sleeve as he slid down the wall. He was leaning on watching his cat, and Kai chased everyone out of the common room from his new spot on the floor. "You're okay, right?" the large black wolf asked, trotting toward him. Deku nodded. He smiled softly when Kai shrank to his pup form and wiggled onto his lap. "Hey," a voice said softly. Izu looked up into the concerned, crimson gaze of his friend. "Need anything?" Deku shook his head and watching in surprise as the blonde sank down beside him, close enough for their shoulders to brush. "Thank you for that," Izu said softly, pulling Asa off his head and placing him in his lap besides Kai. Cat shrugged as if it were nothing. "I'm sorry I wasn't there. I was planning to go with you, but those in extras," Cat snarled under his breath. Izu turned to him with wide eyes. "Why you were planning to shop with me?" "Well, Kai was worried since you and Asa haven't long been bonded, and the only power you have so far is the ability to talk to spirit animals," Cat answered, studying the wall across from them. "Oh, so Kai made you do it?" Isa teased. "The hell he did," Cats yelled, turning to glare at Izuku. Dimin, Kakin. Izu chuckled and turned away from the blonde. Katz looked away, too thankful that Deku turned and didn't see his blush at the use of nickname. Are you sure there is nothing you want to talk about? Katz asked once more. Izu nodded in response. They sat in silence for a while until Katsuki felt something hit his shoulder. He turned and saw a mass of green curls and smiled soulful at Dekus' sleeping form. Kat leaned over and gently nudged Kai awake, prompting him to rise from Izu's lap. As Kai grasped Asa by the scruff, Kat swiftly lifted Deku, then began the trip to his dorm. Once Deku was settled in a bed with Asa, and next to him Katz smiled softly. "You're whipped," Kai teased the blonde, quietly causing a soft pink to creep up Kat's neck. "Shut up," he whispered, snapped back at the large black wolf before getting up and leaving the room. Kai huffed and followed him out. Next morning, Izu woke to sandpaper being softly dragged across his face. "Asa!" Izuku yelped as he wiped his feline's slobber from his face. "Yes." Asa answered sweetly before jumping off the bed and disappearing out the cat flap on Izu's dorm door. Deku sighed before leaving his bed and getting ready for school. Despite the events of yesterday, Izuku walked into the classroom as usual, his green Jaguar companion by his side. The atmosphere was somber, with whispers of yesterday's events still lingering in the air, but the sight of Izuku and his Jaguar provided a moment of normalcy amidst the tension. Other students exchanged sympathetic glances with Izuku. Asa, sensing the subdued mood, moved with a quiet grace, offering a sense of calm to those around them. Flashback to this morning. After Izuku finished preparing for school, Asa returned through the cat flap, its entrance fluttering softly from his prompt entrance. A warm sensation enveloped Izuku, and he turned to meet the gaze of his now smiling animal companion. "Asa, what is this feeling?" Izuku asked, placing a hand over his chest. "That, Izuku, is my powers manifesting in you," Asa replied, grinning wider as a matching smile spread across the green-haired boy's face. "I hope you're ready, Midoriya, Izuku." "Why?" Izuku inquired. "Because," Asa said, his expression turning serious, "shit's about to get real." Flashback end. I looked at my human, his face confused as he absorbed the information I just said. "And why is that?" He finally said. "There's a reason woodland jaguars don't bond with humans," I replied. I sat down, curling my tail around myself. "About that, why did you bond with me?" Izu asked, his large green eyes searching my own. "You have a kind soul." There were so many more reasons why I chose him, but he was not ready. His potential, his kindness, and the unique connection we shared were all factors that drew me in. I saw the best in him, the person he could become, and the appealing journey we could embark on together. However, it became evident that the timing wasn't right for him, and he needed more time to navigate his own path and personal growth. It's a challenging realization when the reasons for choosing someone are overshadowed by the realization that they are not prepared for the same journey at the same moment. Back to the present. Izuku's POV. Izuku sat at his desk and watched Asa as he turned into his kitten form and began to climb up his leg. "You know you could help me," Asa rumbled as he leapt onto the desk and stared at Izuku's hair. "But it's funny to watch," Asa laughed back. Asa laughed as Izuku jumped in shock as Kai's tongue left a trail of drool along his face. "What is it with you guys licking me today?" Izu yelled, frustrated, drawing the class's attention, at which they laughed. "Sounds like you've had a great morning," a certain blonde chuckled, sliding into the seat ahead of him. "I'm glad it seems that way," he sighed, picking up the frustrated feline, still seated on his desk, and plopped him in his hair. Asa's purrs rumbled across his scalp as he curled up. "Why can't I sleep in your hair?" Kai whined to Bakugo, sitting on the blonde's desk in his pup form. "'Cause you're also not a cat," Cat snapped. Homeroom will now begin, the yellow caterpillar that identified as our teacher spoke. Halfway through the class, the silver tabby of Aizawa's padded through the classroom and leaped onto Dekus' desk. "I swear, Silver, if you lick me, I might cry." Izu glared at the feline. "Now I'm tempted to," the cat huffed. Izu continued to glare at the cat. "What do you want?" Izu asked in a cautious tone. Silver didn't answer. Instead, she stepped up onto his shoulder and laid down like a scarf around his neck. What did you do, problem child? Aizawa asked, noticing the way his cat was sleeping on him. Nothing that I'm aware of. He huffed back, rolling his eyes. He felt the kitten on his head huff. Go get changed into your costumes and meet All Might at Ground Gamma. Now this will be a test of speed and adaptability. You will be put in teams of 5, and your goal is to reach me and use spirit counterparts first. Draw numbers for your teams. After the class drew their numbers, as per All Might's instructions, the teams were announced. Team 1, Ida, Uraraka, Mina, Katsuki, Kirishima. Team 2, Shiro, Shoto, Izuku, Kaminari, Tokoyami. Not the same teams, as this will be a tad different, so no hate. Team 1, you're up first. All Might yelled from where he stood out on a platform surrounded by our spirit animals. A shoulder bumped Izuku from his thoughts. ABD, he turned to meet the crimson eyes that stared back. Be careful, Deku. Don't push yourself, you haven't been bonded to Asa long. Cat snapped, although his concern weighed heavy in his speech. I'll be careful, Kakin, Deku grinned. Besides, Asa's abilities have begun to transfer. Why, I see hot. Kakin yelled after nodding to the greenette. What do you want, Bakugo? Shoto asked, sounding anything but excited about engaging in this conversation. You better keep an eye on Deku. Anything happens to him, and you will answer to not just me, but a few spirit animals on his behalf, Cat threatened. Oh yeah, really? I'm not going to let him get hurt. What animals am I going to have to answer to? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Well, for starters, you have Asa, and that alone should scare you, but you also have Kai, Silver, Noah, and President Mike's Sonic Link's pitch, all of which are very protective of this little man. Cat smiled and ruffled Deku's hair. Shoto laughed. I'm not surprised our Izu is quite lovable. Kakin seemed to get even more frustrated. Kakin, you need to go, your team was called, and stop scaring Sho. Deka laughed, pushing Cat towards the start. I'll be cheering for you, Kakin. Deka grinned and waved. Me too, Kakin, Shoto mocked, waving. No one was surprised when Cat won with a time of 13 seconds. Flying through the course that was armed with zero-pointer robots and pipes that the students had to maneuver across. Team 2, ready, go. Deku raced forwards, feeling the teal lightning that began to zap around his body. He watched as the zero-pointer robot surged forward toward the 5 of them. Deku dropped back, coming behind Shoto as he shot ice towards the looming threat. Move! Asa's roar echoed through the course. Iza grabbed Sho and raced forwards, pushing himself past the robot and out the other side, just in time for the robot's hand to crash where the pair just stood. Deku released Shoto and raced for the pipes, running alone them in a similar way Cat had done earlier. Izuku felt a small smile grow on his face as he felt the wind WHB past his face. Although, as he got closer to the building, his foot slipped. At the speed he was traveling, he fell sideways and crashed towards the target platform. He closed his eyes, anticipating the impact that would most likely hurt. Strong arms wrapped around his body, pulling him towards his rescuer's chest. Izuku opened his eyes slowly, only to see Katsuki's smug face. The familiar scent of explosions and determination surrounded him as he found himself securely in Katsuki's grip. You really need to work on your landings, Deku, Katsuki teased, his usual bravado barely concealing a hint of concern. Izuku couldn't help but chuckle, grateful for the timely rescue. Thanks, Kakin. I guess I still have a long way to go, Izuku replied, glancing down at the platform he had narrowly avoided. Katsuki's arms tightened around him before he lowered Deku to his feet. You are going to be the death of me, Asa snarled, leaping forwards and knocking Izuku off his feet. Oh no, the kitten is cranky, Kai laughed, walking over and licking Izu. Get you filthy tunnage off him, you overgrown mutt, Asa snarled, laying his much larger body on top of Izu. And what are you going to do it? I don't, the volcanic wolf huffed. Gee guys, Asa squeaked. I will eat your furry, but Asa snapped. Maybe in your dreams, Kai snarled back. A smaller snarl sounded beside the fighting animals, and they turned and looked down at the mad little fox. You're going to kill him, Asa, Tanner snapped, drawing attention to Izuku, who was turning a light shade of purple. CRP sorry, Izu. Asa yelped, leaping off the small mail. Back at the dorms. Everyone, we are playing a game in the common room together right now. Mina yelled, even though there was no need, as everyone was sitting down eating dinner. We are already here, Pinky, Kat stated with a raised eyebrow. All right, well anyway. Mina ran and grabbed an empty yellow water bottle, holding above her head in triumph. Let's play spin the bottle, Mina said enthusiastically. Soon the entire class had created a circle around the yellow bottle tension building. Okay, just some rules. Kisses are on the cheek, although Mina wiggled her eyebrows, causing some giggles to arise. This game is unbecoming of a hero. We should study. Ida yelled as Mech Falcon skulking from his shoulder. Sit down, Ida, and be quiet. Mina said, a dangerous look in her eye. We show dash. Sit down. Her voice, too, on an edge that made Asa shift closer to Deku from where they sat on the floor, her cosmic calliope snarling. And be quiet. Ida sat. Okay, who's ready to play? Mina smiled. It's safe to say everyone was ready to play. Yura, who went first, spun the bottle, watching its yellow hue blurring into a circle. Deku smirked as it slowed until it stopped on Tsu. The two exchanged a quick peck on the cheek, redder than Kirishima's hair. Your turn, Mina, Yura said, sitting down and pulling Cotton, her pink rabbit, into her lap. Mina took the bottle and spun it, an eerie silence falling over the crowd. Please, please, Mineta prayed, watching the now spinning bottle as it slowed. Yes, Mineta yelled as it stopped in him. Cat, it's your turn, Mina said, sitting, ignoring the fact it landed on the grape. Cat stood, taking the bottle, whilst Mineta cried. Kai glanced at Deku, who was staring intensely at the bottle in quiet deliberation. What was not expected was when it landed on a certain green net. It most certainly was. Cat grinned and walked towards Deku. Look, Kaken, we can talk about this. Deku stuttered, turning a bright red. Talking's not my thing. Cat grinned, getting closer. Asa leapt forwards, puffing out his chest. No, Asa stated, even though Cat only heard a meow. Yes, Kai replied, jumping on the woodland Jaguar, pushing him to the floor. Cat was close enough to grab the front of Izuku's shirt and pull him close. Kaken, Deku squeaked. I love it when you call me that, Cat admitted in a voice only Deku heard before he pressed his lips against the green nets. The taste of cinnamon lingered on his soft lips from his earlier snack. Cat teasingly flicked his tongue against the other boy's lip before pulling away. So much for my cheek rule, Mina said, grinning. I'm hardcore shipping right now. Yura admitted, a smile on her face. My innocent Izuku. Asa cried from the corner where Kai was sitting on him. The only things on Dekus' mind was Cat, PRD, his warm lips that tasted of caramel, his crimson eyes. The common room buzzed with anticipation as the game of spin the bottle continued. After Cat's unexpected move, the atmosphere crackled with a mix of amusement, surprise, and a hint of tension. As the bottle spun again, everyone held their breath, wondering who it would land on next. It was Kirishima's turn, and he spun the bottle with a grin. The yellow plastic twirled, casting flickering shadows in the dimly lit room. It slowed, almost teasingly, before pointing directly at Todoroki. The dual-haired hero in training raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. Kirishima chuckled nervously, realizing the implications of the bottle's choice. Well, looks like it's me and you, Todoroki. Todoroki remained composed, his cool demeanor not giving away any emotions. He stood up, walking over to Kirishima with measured steps. The others watched in curious anticipation as Todoroki leaned in and placed a brief, chaste kiss on Kirishima's cheek. Whoa, dude, that was cold. I mean cool. Kirishima laughed, trying to break the tension as he rubbed his cheek theatrically. The game continued, with each spin of the bottle adding to the excitement. As the bottle landed on various classmates, the kisses exchanged ranged from shy pecks to playful smirks, each interaction revealing a bit more about the dynamics between the characters. At one point, the bottle landed on Momo Yorozu, who blushed slightly but gracefully accepted the game's rules. She spun the bottle, and it landed on Shiro. With a good-natured smile, Shiro leaned in and gave Yaoyorozu a friendly peck on the cheek causing a round of applause and cheers from the others. Meanwhile, Midoriya tried to focus on the game, but his mind kept wandering back to the unexpected moment with Katsuki Bakugo. He couldn't shake off the tingling sensation on his lips or the way his heart raced during their brief kiss. It was a moment that defied his expectations and left him questioning his own feelings. As the game progressed, friendships deepened and laughter filled the room. Even Ida, who initially opposed the idea, found himself enjoying the light-hearted atmosphere and joining in the fun, albeit with a strict adherence to the rules. Finally, as the bottle made its rounds and the clock ticked closer to curfew, the game came to an end. As the group dispersed, heading back to their respective rooms, Midoriya couldn't help but replay the events of the evening in his mind. The game of Spin the Bottle had brought unexpected revelations, challenged perceptions, and forged new connections, leaving everyone with a deeper understanding of each other. And for Midoriya, it was a night that made him realize that sometimes stepping out of one's comfort zone could lead to moments of unexpected joy and self-discovery. He shook his head once more. Damn it, I'm too gay for this. Izuku stared at the ceiling of his dorm room. Asa curled on his chest in his kitten form. Deku sighed. Okay, what is it? Asa asked, rolling his eyes and sitting up on his chest, staring down into his eyes. Izuku looked at the feline and didn't answer. Let me rephrase that. What is it concerning Katsuki? Asa grinned evilly. Asa, Izuku squeaked, moving his hands to cover his now flaming face. Sorry for pointing out the obvious, Asa chuckled. Is it really that obvious? He replied, peeking through his fingers. Asa just smiled. You-you-you-ich-h-h-h. Izuku groaned, hiding his face once more. Asa jummoed off the greenette's chest and grabbed a pen and notebook with his jaws before returning. Write down your phone number, Asa ordered once he was settled on Dekus' chest once more. Why? 'Cause I said to now do it. Gee, sorry. Izuku sat up, gently moving the little woodland Jaguar to his lap, then writing out the number like he was told to. There, he said as he put it back on the bed. Cat's gonna love it. Asa grabbed it in his teeth and raced out the flap on Izuku's door. Asa, no, come back. Deku yelled, racing behind Asa, trying to stop him. At this point, Asa had returned to his normal form. So, when Izuku jumped on him, he kinda just went for a ride. Please, Asa, stop. Izuku pleaded, holding on to Asa's fur for dear life as Kat's dreaded room neared. Kai, get the door. Asa roared as they got closer. Kai swung the door open with a large, toothy grin. Kai, what are you? What the F? Kat said, looking up from his position, watching the large green Jaguar lunge towards him, a disparate teen cling its fur. The paper in the kitten's mouth. Kai yelled, laughing at Kat, who quickly did as he was told. No, Kakin dropped the paper. Izuku yelled, leaping at the boys, sending them both sprawling on the bed, Deku pinning Kakin below him. Kat grinned as he read Izuku's number, quickly memorizing it. Wow, you got your spirit animal to give me your number. Kat chuckled, looking up into the emerald eyes above him. Izuku dropped his body, hitting his face in Kat's neck before he relished what he was doing. Kat laughed as Izuku tensed and brought his arms around the smaller male on top of him, holding him to his chest. Kakyun. Izuku stuttered, his face turning a vivid scarlet. Thankfully, it was still hidden in Kat's shoulder. Kai, pass me my phone, Kat told his wolf, who did as he was asked. Kat, still holding Izuku pinned to him with one arm, typed in the number he had committed to memory. Chuckling, Kat threw the phone in the direction of his desk and wrapped his arm around Deku, once more pulling the smaller boy tighter to him. Kak and WY, are you doing this? Deku's voice was muffled by Kat's shoulder. The blonde shrugged. You're warm, and I'm cold. Izuku pulled back his head and looked into the crimson eyes beneath him, noting the hoodie and sweats the other male wore. Izuku frowned. Are you sick? The greenette asked, raising a hand to his forehead. You do feel a little hot, Izuku mumbled. Kat met the concerned gaze of the male, pinned to his chest. What can I say? I'm just a hot guy, Kay joked. Izuku jumped off his chest and turned to Asa, who sat at the doorway. Asa, can you go ask Cliff if Kiri has any flu meds? I know he was sick a few days ago. Asa nodded and raced from a room, using his nose to track down Kirishima's spirit animal. Kakin lay down under the covers. Kai passed me a warm towel. Soon Cat was settled in bed with a warm towel across his head. Midobro, I got the meds. Kiri yelled. Cat winced, rubbing his temples. Kirishima, I suggest you talk quieter, Izu said in a firm voice, followed by Asa's and Kai's growls. My bad, the redhead all but whispered, handing Deku the meds that he had requested. Deku popped out the last 2 tablets and gave them to Cat with a glass of water. Keep an eye on the cranky Pomeranian. I'll go replace the medication, cause he will need more. Without thinking, he bent over the bed and pressed a kiss to Cat's warm cheek. Asa, stay here too, he yelled over his shoulder, face now a bright red. Cat's POV. Cat watched the greenette race from the room, his face flushing a scarlet hue. Well, that's a bit gay, Kiri joked, bumping the large green Jaguar beside him. Shut up, shitty hair, Katsuki screamed at the laughing redhead before him. Kai stepped up. Take a nap, Cat. You will feel better afterwards, the wolf mind linked the boy. Cat glanced at the clock beside the bed. 4 p.m. was displayed across the black screen in a vibrant orange. Izu's POV. The trip to the small corner store was cold, but otherwise uneventful. Izu browsed the shelves, the picture he had taken on his phone of the med box open, helping him look. Here it is, he muttered to himself. That will be $14.95, the cashier stated. Deku paid and ventured out into the night once more. He couldn't stop thinking about how Cat had acted earlier, how his body felt against his own. Maybe he was delusional. He did have a fever after all. Izu was intently watching his red sneakers as he walked back to the UA grounds. Got ya, a familiar voice laughed from behind. Before Deku could turn around, something hit him in the back of the head. Darkness and pain overtook him, and he fell forwards into waiting arms. Laughter echoed into the night, and the bag of medication sat on the street, the wind ruffling its white plastic. Cat's POV. A loud roar woke Cat from his slumber. Asa, what the hell? The blonde muttered, wiping his eyes. Cat, it's Izuku, Kai translated, pulling the now wide-awake Cat onto his back and racing after the crazed woodland Jaguar. Cat was silent as he looked at the plastic bag on the street containing the medications Izuku was set on buying. Cat wasn't even sick after his nap, thankfully, but now his reason of living was gone. Cat's yell rang throughout the sleepy streets, soon joined by Kai's howl and Azure's mournful roar. The trio raced towards UA once more. Asa's POV. First person. There was a void in my soul, like there was before I met Midoriya, Izuku. I made an oath to myself that day. I bonded with him. An oath that I would protect him as he did me. And I failed. Get out of your head, cub. I looked up at the bear in front of me. Noah, I have failed as an animal companion. I can't even feel or locate him. It's been 3 days, and all I know is he's alive. I choked. The bear sat next to me, throwing a mighty paw over my hunched shoulders. So you trying to give up? For some reason, that question took me back to the day I have first met Izuku, after I had leapt through that window. Although it wasn't until he sought me out and patched me up did I know. I was his and he was mine, and now he was gone. Anger flooded my veins and thoughts, and I spun to the bear next to me with a snarl. Never. I will never give up on him, 'cause he never gave up on me. I roared, teal eyes glowing as I looked into Noah's smug eyes. Use your anger. Push it through your bond, Noah instructed calmly. I closed my eyes and pushed, feeling my rage travel through my connection to Izu. My eyes snapped open. Got him. Izuku POV, first person, my apologies. 3 days the League had me for so far. The cuff that cut off my connection to Asa weighed heavily on my arm, even though I was tied to a chair. The many cuts across my body, across my bruised and battered body, ached as I forced my tired eyes open once more. Hello, Deku, Shigaraki stated with a villainous grin. What do you want? I mutter, my voice quiet and dry. Well, we have been trying for 3 days to see what makes you special, and we have found nothing. He paused. Let's try something new. His black snake slithered out of the villain's hoodie, sleeve BLD, red eyes locked with mine. Wrath here has the ability to make you do whatever he pleases. That is after he has bitten you. I froze. The many days I had documented and studied spirit animals of today and the past come to my mind. A black snake with the ability to control people once its venom enters the victim's bloodstream. Passes on the ability of decay to its human counterpart. SHD. I say softly so only I could hear it, my eyes widening as the realization hit. I struggled against my restraints. Shigaraki laughed and stepped closer, wrath smiling. It will be entertaining to watch you kill the ones you love. Anger consumed me, and that's when I felt it. The cuff that stopped me from reaching both Asa and his abilities burst open and an array of teal electricity broke over my body. I easily broke my tethers and raced for the door, knowing I could not hold my own in a battle where it was 1v however many villains and their animals lived here. Dodging the other villains was easy as Asa's anger mixed with my own, and I escaped out the front door. I felt Asa getting closer and raced in his direction, ignoring the pain burning inside me. I quickly saw my large green Jaguar along with Aizawa, All Might, and his bear Noah. Run! I yelled as they saw me. I stumbled thanks to my injuries, and Asa raced forward, catching my and hoisting me onto his back with a quick nudge of his nose. Problem child, how did you escape? And why are we running? Aizawa asked as they turned and ran after us, Asa dropping back, so I could talk to them. Shigaraki's spirit animal I grunted. What about it? It's just a shadow. Snake dash, All Might started. I shook my head, interrupting him. We were wrong. So very wrong. I say, making eye contact with All Might. It's an abyssal dragon. After I said that, I slumped forwards and nose dived into the darkness of unconsciousness. Izuku laid in the crisp white sheets of a hospital bed, eyes closed. His green tousled hair tasting the pearl sheets. Asa was curled up at his side closet to the dewy, as he would have full view of who entered the room. How is our kid? Chip asked. Inko and her Russian blue animal companionship had come to the hospital as soon as they hear Izu had been brought in. He should be waking soon, Asa said softly. 17 hours Deku had been unconscious for. The gray cat huffed and curled up on Inko's lap. Hey kitten, Kai stated, jumping onto the bed, turning from a large black wolf to a little black pup who curled up beside Asa. Hey Miss Midoriya, I'm Katsuki. Cat greeted, walking into the room, although his eyes remained locked on Izu's sleeping form. Hello Katsuki, please call me Inko. She stood and without hesitating wrapped the fiery blonde in a warm hug. How is he? Cat asked in a small voice, wiping a tear as Inko stepped away. Asa told Chip that he should wake soon. A small meow from the bed drew their attention, and they turned, seeing Asa standing on the small boy's chest, staring down into his unopened eyes. Asa, you weigh a ton, Asa muttered groggily and playfully shoving the kitten on his chest. Honey, Inko yelled, racing to the bedside and grasping his hand. Good to see you awake, kid, Chip purred, jumping onto the bed besides Kai. Hey Mum, Chip, Kai. Izu smiled, moving to sit up, although stopping with a wince. That hurt, didn't it? Cat said, teasingly, coming to stand next to the bed on the opposite side to Inko. K. Kakin. Izu squeaked, meeting the crimson gaze he had missed. How are you feeling? Izu asked, reaching a hand to touch his forehead, forgetting his outburst. I should be asking you that. Cat smiled, taking Izu's hand and holding it to his chest. Is this the blonde you were telling me about? Inko winked at Cat, causing him to turn a soft pink. Asa interrupted, pressing his nose to Izuku's. You are never leaving my side again, Midoriya. Izuku, the small feline, snarled. I can't go through that again, Asa stated softly, a tear rolling down his fur. I'm sorry, Asa, Isa said quietly, wiping away his tear with the hand that held his mother's hand. You won't go through that again. You're damn right he won't, Cat snapped, even though he didn't accurately know what was said since Kai hadn't translated. Kai snarled in agreement. Ink looked at her watch. Honey, I have to go clock on. Will you be okay? I'll stay with him, Inko. Cat smiled, tightening his hold of Izuku's hand. Thank you, Katsuki. I like this boy. Inko laughed, leaving the room, Chip following close behind. Got Mum's approval. Cat grinned proudly once Inko had left. After a short pause, he sighed. I'm sorry. If I hadn't had a fever, you dash. Stop it. Izu snarled, interrupting him. It's not your fault, he said sternly. You left Asa with me. How is it not my fault? Cat snapped back, angry tears rolling down his face. I could have lost you. All because of a fever. A fever, goddammit. Bakugo Katsuki. Shut the F up. Cat, Kai, and even Asa froze. Did you know that the League was watching me? Deku asked, locking eyes with the blonde once more. Cat shook his head. Did you know that I was going to be taken? Another head shake. Then reasonably tell me how it's your fault? Izu reasoned. When silence answered him, Izu laughed. Asa quick write it down. I rendered Kakin speechless. Where would I be without you? Cat sighed. Probably back at the dorms, even more mentally unstable. Izu grinned up at the blonde. Cat barked a laugh. God, that's the reason I love you. Cat chuckled before realizing. Izu stared at him with wide eyes. SHD, I said that out loud, didn't I? Asa and Kai started laughing from where they were sitting in the corner. Look, just forget I said that, Dash. Izuku pulled his hand from Cat's and grasped the front of his shirt, pulling him down to where he laid on the bed. Izu pressed his lips to Cat's, relishing the caramel taste and the soft warmth that made his lips taste like home. Cat quickly got over his shock and moved his hands into the green curls he had longed to touch and pulled Izu closer, flicking his tongue across his bottom lip in a teasing way. Asa ran to the plant in the corner and faked throwing up with loud, retching noises, soon echoed by Kai, who raced over and joined him. Cat pulled away with a sigh of annoyance and stared into the emerald eyes before him, taking in his parted lips and shortness of breath thanks to the kiss they shared. That kiss. I love you, Kakin. So no, I refuse to forget that. Izuku smiled, moving his hand to caress the side of Cat's cheek and gently rubbing his thumb in circles. Cat closed his eyes, enjoying the touch. That's GAY. Asa laughed, copying what Kiri has said earlier. Shut up, you green, overgrown house cat. Cat roared, turning and glaring at Asa, who just jumped on Akai's back and in his kitten form moved to put his head between the black wolf's ears. Roar, Asa chuckled. Izuku felt the crisp air hit his face as he stepped out of the hospital, finally free from the sterile walls that had confined him for what felt like an eternity. His body still bore the marks of his ordeal, bruises and bandages serving as a constant reminder of the danger he had faced and what's to come. As he made his way to the location of the pro-hero meeting, his mind raced with thoughts of what awaited him. Would they question him endlessly about his kidnapping? Would they doubt his abilities after such a harrowing experience? Upon entering the meeting room, Izuku was greeted by a mix of curious glances and sympathetic nods from the gathered heroes. All eyes seemed to be on him, their gazes heavy with concern and curiosity. Midoriya, good to see you up and about, one of the senior heroes said, offering a reassuring smile. Izuku nodded in response, trying to muster up the confidence he knew he needed for what was to come. He took a seat among the heroes, feeling a sense of both familiarity and intimidation in their presence. Asa quietly curled up in his hair. The meeting began, and the discussions ranged from recent villain activity to strategies for improving hero public relations. Izuku listened attentively, his mind absorbing every detail despite the lingering fatigue from his hospital stay. Now, Midoriya, you said that Shigaraki's spirit animal was an abyssal dragon. Is this information correct? Aizawa asked. Izuku's attention snapped to Aizawa, the question cutting through the haze of fatigue that clung to his thoughts. He straightened in his seat, feeling the weight of all eyes on him once again. Yes, that's correct, Izuku confirmed, his voice steady despite the lingering exhaustion. During my captivity, I learned his shadow snake has evolved. Aizawa's expression remained unreadable, his gaze piercing as he processed Izuku's words. The room seemed to hold its breath, awaiting Aizawa's follow-up question. And what else did you gather about this abyssal dragon? Aizawa inquired, his tone neutral yet probing. Izuku hesitated for a moment, recalling the snippets of conversation he had managed to overhear during his captivity. They spoke of its immense power and how it served as a symbol of fear and destruction. Izuku explained. It's also worth noting, Izuku added, his voice gaining strength as he delved into his newfound knowledge, that the abyssal dragon's presence seems to instill a sense of dread and unease among those who encounter it. It's not just about its physical strength, but also the psychological impact it has on its enemies. Aizawa's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of concern crossing his features. That adds another layer to Shigaraki's threat, he remarked, his voice tinged with a hint of urgency. We'll need to be prepared for both the physical and psychological aspects of facing him and his evolved shadow snake. This animal has never been seen before, so how do we know you're speaking the truth? One of the heroes asked Izuku. That's not true. Asa spoke from the top of Izuku's head. Spirit animals are translating. Just saying. Decades ago, a abyssal dragon appeared, Asa continued, and my people stopped it. And how did you do that? Silver asked, her annoyance clear. As you know, woodland jaguars don't bond with humans. It's because we aren't born with a split soul and literally cannot bond with another. Much like a shadow snake. Asa paused. There's only ever been 2 woodland jaguars born with the ability to bond. Me of Cause and Lily. Lily and her human are the ones who defeated the dragon. Asa turned and shared a meaningful look with Aizu, a wordless conversation that the two shared. Ow! Noah asked, growling at the repeated use of the word. I don't know. I would have to ask the leader of my people. Asa huffed at the idea. Okay, so we will take care of Izuku. Silver Aizawa's feline started. No, Aizu will be coming with me. Asa interrupted the small tabby, not liking the idea of parting again with his human. And we're going too. Kai snapped as he and Kat burst into the room. Young Bakugo dash. Save it all might. Deku is being hunted and already has been kidnapped once. We're going. Kai, this is a stupid idea. Asa stated, turning to look at the large wolf. I know, but you love it. Kai pulled up his upper lip in a smile. Asa paused for a moment before turning back to him with a matching evil grin. You're right, I do, Asa chuckled. We ride at dawn. Asa roared dramatically. Aizu was perched on Asa's back as they traveled through the thick undergrowth of the forest Asa called home. Whilst Asa was silent and graceful, Kai was noisy and slow. Kai, you okay back there? Aizu asked, turning around on Asa's back to face the pair behind him. If your boyfriend wasn't so fat, I would be fine. Kai teased Kat, who was on his back. You're right, you're the fat and slow one, Asa jabbed. Come here, you overgrown house cat. Kai snarled, lunging at the feline ahead of him. Asa laughed and took off, staying just out of reach of the wolf, so he wouldn't get lost. Aizu spinning around and grasping his fur tightly. Asa soon slid to a stop, ears irked, body tense. Kai stopped behind him. Would you look at that? Asa's back stated a very unhappy voice. Asa shook himself and stalked forwards, head held high, ignoring the voice and entering the clearing. Izuku slid off Asa's back once they came to a stop in the clearing and stood at his shoulder, hands still fisted in his fur. Asa screamed, a little projectile that smashed into his side. Ivy, Asa purred, licking the little pink cub that was still attached to Asa's side. Deku added to his mind bank that woodland jaguars could be many different colors. Welcome home, son, a booming voice called. Ivy is my sister, and that is my father, the leader. Asa mind linked Aizu as a large jaguar approached. Is this the human you bonded with? Asa's dad purred, eyeing Deku up and down. My name is Midoriya. Izuku, but please call me Aizu. Deku nodded his head. My name is Koa, introduced. And I know why you're here. Koa looked over at the duo behind Asa. Your friends are welcome to join, he added, curling his lip in disgust as he looked at Kai. Arrogant felines, Kai muttered loud enough for said felines to hear. They followed Koa into a cave like den and settled down. Another jaguar joined them, this one a soft silver. Mother, Asa smiled, licking her cheek before sitting with Aizu. Hello, AZ, she purred and turned to Aizu. Aizu saw her appealing, unseeing gray eyes, already noting the parent that Asa took after. Asa is nearly identical to his dad Koa. We don't know why Ivy is pink. She built different. And you must be Izuku, she smiled. My name is Mist. Mother is our oracle, Asa purred proudly. Miss sat down and sighed, voice turning serious. The Dragon of Darkness is rising. She looked between Asa and Izuku, everyone kind of ignoring Kat and Kai's presence. Not that they minded. You and your human are the only ones who can stop him and his chosen. Asa and Izu stilled, listening to the wise Cat. There is a legend among our kind, a legend of a third form dash. Everyone knows that the cub's tail. Ivy snorted. Hush! Asa smacked his little sister with a gentle flick of his paw. A third form that both the Jaguar and their chosen share. This form is the only thing that could defeat the dragon. And why is that? Izu asked softly. Just as only light can dispel darkness, only courage can vanquish fear. Miss closed her eyes. Are you saying that the dragon is Dash? The embodiment of fear? Yes, much she is, Koa huffed, cutting Kai off. But how are you so sure it's me and Izu who are the key to stopping him? Asa said to his mother, ignoring Kai and Koa. Miss' body began to shudder, and her eyes cast an airy glow. What's happening, Dash? Shoo, Izu, Asa interrupted, and Miss began to mutter. In the realm of shadows, deep and vast, a prophecy speaks of a soul steadfast, with spirit animal by their side. They'll face the dragon, darkness's pride. Born of fire's fierce and icy chill, their destiny set, a path to fulfill. Through ancient woods and whispered lore, they'll heed the call forevermore. When skies are ablaze and stars align, the chosen one's light will brightly shine. With courage as their blade, pure and true, they'll face the darkness, break it through. Spirit beast, guardian of ancient might, guiding them through the darkest night. Together they'll rise, a force untamed, in unity, there. Destiny claimed, dragon of darkness, with wings unfurled, shall meet its end in a cosmic whirl. For in the heart of the chosen's flame lies the power to vanquish the dragon's claim. Through trials and battles, they'll prevail, as prophecy weaves its timeless tale. With spirit's essence, bond unbroken, they'll usher in a new era. Words unspoken, peace and harmony, the world shall see. As the chosen one sets darkness free, in unity and light, they'll stand tall, fulfilling the prophecy, heeding the call. Miss let out a breath and laid down, blinking away her glowing eyes. I saw you in Izuku. Son, there is no doubt now. Only the pair of you can stop the beast. The evening had settled over UA, casting a tranquil yet tense aura around the campus. Izuku and Katsuki returned to the dorms, exhaustion evident in their every step. As they stood outside Izuku's dorm room, a heavy silence hung between them, laden with unspoken thoughts and emotions. We'll tell the heroes tomorrow. For now, we just need to sleep. Katsuki sighed, his voice carrying a weariness that mirrored Izuku's own. With gentle determination, he helped a sleepy Izuku off Asa's back, guiding him with a steadying hand towards his bed. Asa stumbled over to his designated spot in the corner, transforming into his kitten form and curling up snugly, a silent sentinel in the room. Katsuki turned his attention back to Izuku, pulling back the covers and encouraging the exhausted boy to lie down, where he then swiftly removed Izuku's shoes. As Katsuki finished tucking Izu into bed, his thoughts drifted to the uncharted territory of their relationship. Despite the chaos of recent events, they hadn't found the time or the words to define what they meant to each other, especially after the incident at the hospital. With a lingering sense of uncertainty, Katsuki made a move to leave, but he was stopped in his tracks by Izuku's soft voice. Stay. Katsuki froze, his gaze meeting Izuku's, his hand fisted in his sleeve as if holding onto something fragile and fleeting. Despite the teasing and banter of their animals, they hadn't delved into what they truly meant to each other, leaving them standing at the edge of an uncharted sea of emotions. Stay, Izuku repeated. Katsuki's shoulders lifted in a subtle shrug. With a decisive nod, he closed the door. Kicking off his shoes, Katsuki returned to the bedside, his wolf joining Asa, curling around the little Jaguar in his pup form. Izu snuggled into Kat's side, drawing a small smile from the blond boy, who brought his hand up to play with the untamed green curls. "Good night, Kakin. Good night, Deku." The sun's morning rays filtered through the curtains, casting a soft, golden glow into the room. The events of the previous day felt like a distant dream, the tension of the night before dissolving into the morning calm. Slowly, Izuku blinked his eyes open, his gaze adjusting to the gentle light that filled the room. He became aware of the warmth beside him, the steady rise and fall of Katsuki's chest as he slept peacefully. A small smile tugged at the corners of Izuku's lips as he watched Katsuki. His features softened in the morning light. Izuku shifted slightly, careful not to disturb Kat. He glanced at the clock and realized that they had a few precious moments before the day's responsibilities called them back into action. Deku carefully maneuvered out of the bed and moved to get ready, although he stopped to take a quick pic of the two animals curled around each other. Totally not blackmail. Izu chuckled and moved into the bathroom to get changed, returning to the room and meeting Kat's glare from the bed. "Up, the beast is awake," Izu laughed. "No one should be this happy in the morning." Kai snarled, and he stumbled towards the bed. "Hurry and get ready, we have another meeting to attend." So once more they were seated in the meeting room, the only difference being Kat now sat beside Izu. "So that's what happened." Izuku finished explaining what had occurred. "So the fate of the world rests on a teenager and his cat," Endeavor snarled in total outrage. "This teenager, or so you like to call him, acts more like a hero than you," Aizawa replied as Silver snarled at Flare, Endeavor's animal. "What's that supposed to mean?" the flame hero yelled, launching to his feet. "It means I don't enter illegal marriages to have the perfect chid, then spend the entire childhood of said kid beating him and driving his mother mad." Izuku smiled innocently as he outed the pro. "Shoto will be number one," Endeavor screamed, the other heroes silently watching. "To bad Deku and Aza are the only ones who can save the world." Kat leant forwards and smiled evilly at the hero. "I dash. Flare tell you idiot human Endeavor to sit down and shut up. Us grown-ups are trying to save the world," Aza snarled, flexing his claws. 3 days. That's all they had left. "To the pro-heroes of Japan, we, the League of Villains, hereby declare our imminent attack on Japan. In 3 days' time, our forces will strike with unprecedented ferocity and strategic precision. Our reasons for this assault are clear. We reject the false peace propagated by the Hero Society, which has long masked the underlying injustices and corruption that plague our society. The so-called heroes have failed in their duty to protect the innocent. Instead, they uphold a system that benefits the powerful while disregarding the struggles of the marginalized. Our attack is not an act of random chaos, but a calculated response to years of oppression and neglect. We stand for those who have been silenced, for those who have suffered at the hands of a broken system. Our goal is not mere destruction, but revolution. A chance to rebuild a world where justice is not a privilege, but a right for all. Prepare yourselves, for the storm is coming. We will not be deterred, and we will not falter until our voices are heard and our demand for change are met. Sincerely, the League of Villains. This note was hand-delivered by a weaker villain known to be the LOV's messenger. And let's just say Deku had wished he had invested in earplugs. Midnight. We're running out of time. The League of Villains is hitting us in 3 days, and we're not ready. Endeavor. Snort's ready? We're heroes. Midnight. We're always ready. Hawks. Oh, come on, Endeavor. You can't just flame on and expect everything to be fine. The League's got tricks up their sleeves this time. President Mike. Tricks or not, we can't let panic cloud our judgment. We need a solid plan, people. Endeavor. Plans? Plans are for rookies. I'll blast my way through them. Midnight. Blast your way through and risk civilian casualties? Think Endeavor. Hawks. We need to coordinate. My wings can cover ground fast, but I need support. President Mike. Support won't matter if we don't know where they'll strike first. We need intel. Endeavor. Intel? Coordination? This isn't some board game. We're heroes. We fight. Midnight. We fight smart. Endeavor. Lives are on the line. An almost purring sound began in the room before developing into a powerful and resonant roar, which pretty quickly shut up the arguing heroes. Aza's roar dropped into a snarl, and Izuku stood at the table glaring down the city's protectors. We can't afford to waste time arguing. Endeavor, your strength is crucial, but we need strategy, not just brute force. Hawks, your speed is an asset, but it's useless without coordination. President Mike, we can't overlook the importance of intelligence gathering. Izuku said, looking at the heroes as he spoke about them. He pauses, his gaze sweeping over the gathered heroes. The League of Villains won't wait for us to sort out our differences. They're counting on us to be divided, to be unprepared. We need to work together, leverage each other's strengths, and anticipate their moves. That's how heroes win, not by individual power, but by unity and strategy. His outburst was met with silence. Wow, we were put in our place by a child. Aizawa smirked, looking at Izuku with a proud gaze. I'm adopting him. Midnight yelled, pointing at the green net. Aza rolled his eyes and leapt into Dekus' hair, curling up to sleep now that the room had quietened. Us pros can delegate patrols and such, but Deku and Aza need to train. Nizu stated, ignoring Midnight's outburst. Maybe Silver and Talon can help them whilst we are in this meeting. Hawk stated. Aizawa nods in agreement with Hawk's suggestion. That could work, he says, his gaze shifting to Izuku and Aza. We'll have our animal companions assist in your training during the meeting. It's important to make the most of every opportunity to improve your skills. Izuku and Aza exchanged determined looks, understanding the gravity of the situation. Aza's kitten form lets out a soft growl, a sign of readiness, while Izuku nods in appreciation. Thank you, Aizawa-sensei, Hawks. Izuku responds, his voice steady with determination. With that, Hawk's little red hawk flies over and lands on Izuku's shoulder, while Silver jumped into his arms. Focus. Let Aza fully into your mind, Aizu, Silver instructed after the two had failed previously. The anger Aza used to find you, Izuku, should have strength that bond, so find it, and use it as a path. The red hawk named Talon supplied, sitting in a nearby tree branch in the small clearing they had found. Aza snarled, leaping up and stalking back and forth, his green pelt shimmering in the late afternoon sun. Silver's instructions were clear and direct, emphasizing the need for Izuku to fully embrace the bond with Aza. Izuku closed his eyes and focused intently, allowing Aza's presence to fill his mind, his fear of losing the ones he loved if they could fight at full strength filling him. Aza stopped, pacing, his eyes glowing their soft teal, nostrils flaring. Deku, who still had his eyes closed, was encased in a soft, craking lighting that mirrored Aza's teal glow. Aizu opened his eyes and grinned as the lighting faded. Step 1 complete. Talon squawked happily, Silver's affirmative nod adding to the happy mood. Now on to Step 2. They continued training like that for well into the night, although not once did Aza and Aizu unlock their thrid form. Mist spoke off. As the night settled in, Izuku and Aza returned to their dorm, both physically and mentally exhausted from their training session. Aza curled up and quickly fell asleep, finding comfort in their familiar surroundings. Meanwhile, Izuku sought a different kind of solace. He quietly left the room and made his way up to the roof of the dormitory. There, under the canopy of stars, he found a sense of peace and clarity. The night sky shimmered with countless stars, each one a distant sun in its own right, filling Izuku with wonder and awe. Below, the city sang its nocturnal melody, a symphony of urban sounds that blended into a harmonious rhythm. Car horns, chirping insects, distant voices, all contributed to the unique soundtrack of Musutafu at night. Izuku, deep in thought and enjoying the peaceful night, initially didn't notice Cat's arrival. Cat, typically brash and loud, surprised even himself by taking a moment to simply stand there, silently observing the green net. Izuku's peaceful reverie was interrupted by a faint sound, barely perceptible against the backdrop of the night. It was a soft footfall, distinct yet gentle, enough to draw Izuku's attention away from the starlit sky. Slowly turning, he saw Kakin standing there, a rare calmness in his expression that Izuku had seldom witnessed. Surprised by Kat's presence, yet intrigued by the uncharacteristic tranquility surrounding him, Izuku couldn't help but acknowledge him. "Kakin," he said, his voice a whisper in the quiet night air. "What are you doing up here?" Kat's gaze met Izuku's, a flicker of something unreadable passing through his eyes before he replied. "Just needed some air." It was a simple explanation, but Izuku sensed there was more beneath the surface, something unsaid but understood between them in that fleeting moment on the rooftop. "What about you, nerd?" the fiery blonde asked, moving to take a seat beside him on the ledge. "Needed to think, I guess." "What about?" Kat turned and looked into the green gaze of the boy beside him. A dash. Aiza trailed off, and Jiri tears welling in his eyes. "I can't, Kakin. Everyone is depending on me and Aiza to unlock this mysterious third form, and I can't." His voice trembled as he buried his face in his hands, tears escaping despite his efforts to contain them. The pressure of expectations, both external and self-imposed, weighed heavily on Izuku's shoulders, threatening to crush him. "Hey, Deku," he said, "it's okay to feel overwhelmed. We're all figuring things out, and it's not easy." Izuku looked up, surprised by Kat's unexpected empathy. "But what if I can't do it?" he whispered, his voice tinged with doubt and fear. Bakugo's expression hardened with determination. "You will," he stated firmly. "You and Aiza are stronger than you think. We've faced tough challenges before, and we've always come through. This won't be any different." He extended a hand toward Izuku. "We'll figure out together," Bakugo added, his gaze unwavering. "You're not alone in this." Taking a deep breath, Izuku wiped away his tears and looked at Kat, gratitude evident in his eyes, and only just realizing Kai was nowhere to be seen, which he was thankful for. "Thanks, Kakin," he said, using the nickname with a newfound sense of camaraderie. "I needed to hear that." Kat nodded, a rare smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Don't mention it," he replied gruffly, though the sincerity in his tone couldn't be missed. They both turned to look back at the stars. Kat hadn't realized how close he had sat next to Aizu until he felt a soft weight on his shoulder as Izuku laid his head on his shoulder. "Aizu, I know this isn't the right time to ask, but what are we?" Kat kept his gaze off the green net as his head lifted off his shoulder and turned to look at him. "What do you want to be?" Aizu asked, softly, face flushing a little. Kat turned and locked eyes with the green eyes he couldn't get out of his. "I want you to be mine," he declared seriously, his words carrying a weight of honesty and vulnerability. Izuku's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of red at the unexpected confession. Kat continued, his voice filled with passion and sincerity. "I want to hold you every second of every day, kiss you until we both can't breathe. I want to stand beside you when no one else will. Because, God, I love you, Midoriya Izuku. I love everything about you. Your smile, your eyes, your hair. I love how you mutter when you're thinking, how you fight to prove yourself right, how you fight to protect, how you smile even when others think you can't. I love you too, Bakugo." "Katsuki," Aizu interpreted, smiling. "And I would love to be yours as long as you are mine." Kat pulled Izuku close, their foreheads touching gently. "Good," he whispered, a serene smile gracing his lips as they looked into each other's eyes. Drawing a breath closer, Kat pressed his lips gently against Izuku's, savoring the hint of cinnamon on his lips and the warmth of their closeness. It was a kiss filled with a sense of peace, a fleeting calm before the storm that awaited them. Under the watchful gaze of the stars, Izuku and Kat found solace in each other's embrace. Their love was a sanctuary, a refuge from the brewing storm of challenges and uncertainties that lay ahead. It was a moment of quiet understanding and unity, a reminder that no matter what awaited them, they would face it together. After the night on the roof, Kat and Aizu had just headed back to Kat's dorm as it was closer and fell asleep in each other's arms. A loud crash echoed through the blonde's room as both boys lurched upright. "What the hell, Izuku? Why?" Thought you'd been kidnapped again, roared a very angry Jaguar. Kai grinned, climbing out of his bed and changing to his true form. Kidnapped by his boyfriend. Asa snarled and stalked over to Izu. The mutt knows before me, he said in a low voice. Asa, I'm sorry, it kinda just... Deku was knocked off the bed and squished by the large cat. That's it, you are never leaving my tail. Link understood you problem child. Loud alarms blared throughout UA grounds. All UA students please report to ground beta now. This is not a drill. Midoriya, Izuku report to Nisa's office now. Deku raced to the door, ignoring the face that he had his PJ shorts on and a bare chest. Jump on, Asa ordered as he raced up beside him, and Izuku swung onto his back. Asa took off like a rocket, jumping over kids, weaving through the frenzied crowd. Kai and Bakugo on his tail follow the path Asa made. They burst into the principal's office, something Asa was doing quite often. What's dash? He was interrupted as his hero suit was thrown at him. No time to get changed you to Bakugo, Aizawa snapped. Told you he would be here, too. Nisa chuckled as he looked at Bakugo. The two stood before them now in their hero suits. Okay, now what the hell is happening? Cat snapped. Walk and talk. Nizu ordered, becoming serious from where he was perched on Aizawa's shoulder. The villains are attacking downtown Dash. I thought we had 2 days left. Izu interrupted. Well, apparently they can't count, huffed the sleep-deprived hero. You two will be traveling to the front lines. We ordinarily wouldn't send you straight there, but this needs to stop now. Civilians are caught in the crossfire, and we need them out. Nizu stated. What about you two? Cat asked. We are coming too. Nizu added. Asa, can you carry us? Instead of speaking, he nodded fur. Without hesitation, the Jaguar and Wolf raced off toward the distant pillars of smoke, their agile forms moving swiftly through the night. The urgency of the situation propelled them forward, their instincts honed for the task at hand. As they neared the source of the smoke, they stumbled upon a small group of villains blocking their path. The villains, recognizing Izuku and Asa, wasted no time in launching their attack. The air crackled with aggression as the two sides clashed, each determined to emerge victorious. Meanwhile, Aizawa and Nizu assessed the situation quickly. With the villains focused on Izuku and Asa, they realized that this was their chance to create a distraction and buy time. Aizawa's quirk, Erasure, came into play as he nullified the quirks of the villains, disrupting their coordinated assault. Nizu, using his strategic mind and agility, darted around the battlefield, strategically placing obstacles and creating chaos among the villains' ranks. As the battle unfolded, Aizawa's animal familiar Silver, who climbed out of Aizawa's scaff, communicated silently with Izuku and Bakugo. Go! The Tabe urge will hold them off here. Izuku and Bakugo exchanged a determined glance, understanding the urgency of the situation. With a nod, Kai and Asa sprinted past the skirmish, their hearts pounding with a mixture of adrenaline and determination as the boys held on tightly to their spirit animals. Leaping over debris and dodging attacks, Izuku and Asa raced toward their destination, the urgency of their mission driving them forward. Behind them, Aizawa and Nizu stood firm, their resolve unwavering as they faced the remaining villains, ready to hold the line and buy precious time for Izuku and Bakugo to confront the true threat ahead. They burst into the chaos that was the front lines. Heroes and their companions fought countless villains and Nomu throughout the streets. Here is the hero, laughed a sinister voice. Asa spun and snarled, recognizing the voice instantly, and Izu slid off his back to stand beside him. As Shigaraki stepped forward, his twisted grin sending chills down Izuku's spine, Izuku tightened his grip on Asa's fur. What do you want, Shigaraki? Izuku's voice was steady, though his heart raced with adrenaline. Shigaraki's eyes gleamed with malice as he looked at Izuku and Asa. Oh, just a little chat, Deku, he taunted, using Izuku's hero name mockingly. I heard you've been trying to unlock something new, something powerful. Izuku's expression hardened. He knew Shigaraki wasn't here for idle conversation. I don't have time for your games, Shigaraki. Leave us alone." But Shigaraki only laughed, the sound echoing eerily in the night air. "Oh, but I love games, especially when they involve breaking heroes like you." With a sudden movement, he lunged forward, sending tendrils of decay toward Izuku and Aza. Reacting quickly, Izuku activated his ability he had come to call One for All and Body, surging with power as he leaped out of the way, Aza following suit with a graceful dodge. "Izuku," Aza's voice echoed in his mind, filled with concern. "I'm okay." Izuku reassured his companion, his eyes locked on Shigaraki. "We need to end this quickly." "Cat can go help the others," Deku ordered as he and Aza raced toward Shigaraki. The blonde nodded. "I love you, Deku. Don't get killed." With that, Kai and him disappeared into the fray. As Izuku and Aza faced Shigaraki on the street, the fight around them faded. Aza's Jaguar form exuded a primal ferocity, mirroring Izuku's focused determination. Shigaraki, accompanied by his pet snake Wrath, grinned wickedly, reveling in the chaos he sought to unleash. "Izuku Midoriya," Shigaraki hissed, his voice dripping with malice. "You think you can defy me? Wrath, show them their place." Wrath, a massive serpent with scales gleaming in the dim light, hissed and lunged forward. Aza reacted swiftly, leaping to intercept the snake's attack with a fierce growl. Their clash sent shockwaves through the street, drawing the attention of nearby heroes and villains who looked their way shocked before continuing fighting. Izuku, not hesitating for a moment, activated One for All and charged at Shigaraki. Their battle danced through the urban landscape, each clash of power shaking the buildings around them. Aza, locked in combat with Wrath, utilized agile movements and sharp claws to keep the serpent at bay. Shigaraki, fueled by Wrath's dark powers, unleashed devastating attacks that tested their strength and determination. "We can't let him win, Aza," Izuku called out, his voice filled with determination. Aza, with a fierce snarl, nodded in agreement. Izuku and Aza found themselves standing face to face with Shigaraki and Wrath, their determination unwavering despite the exhaustion creeping into their muscles. With a final surge of energy, they unleashed a coordinated attack, combining their powers in a dazzling display of strength and unity. The impact of their attack sent Shigaraki staggering back, his expression contorted in rage and disbelief as he struggled to regain his footing, although it wasn't over yet, as Wrath hissed. The battle intensified. Izuku and Aza found themselves pushed to their limits. Shigaraki's relentless assault, fueled by Wrath's dark powers, took its toll on them. Aza bore wounds from Wrath's venomous strikes, while Izuku's body ached from the strain of maintaining One for All at its peak. "We can't keep this up," Izuku gasped, feeling the weight of exhaustion settling in. Aza's eyes reflected determination mixed with concern. "We have to find a way, Izu." But Shigaraki, sensing their fatigue, pressed his advantage. With a malevolent grin, he launched a devastating attack that caught Izuku and Aza off guard. The force of the impact sent them crashing to the ground, pain shooting through their bodies. Izuku gritted his teeth, struggling to rise despite the injuries. Aza, weakened but not defeated, stood protectively in front of Izuku, ready to defend him with everything they had left. Shigaraki, sensing victory within his grasp, advanced with Wrath coiled around him, ready to deliver the final blow. The cityscape around them seemed to fade as the confrontation reached its CLMX, the weight of their responsibilities and the danger they faced bearing down on Izuku and Aza. "Are you ready to die, Deku?" Shigaraki laughed. "Not yet, he's not," yelled a voice as a large wolf raced past the injured duo, an Anjiri blonde on its back. But it wasn't just him. The pros around them raced forwards and attempted to drive Shigaraki back as they had the other villains. The sudden arrival of the wolf, carrying the angry blonde, along with the pros rushing to their aid, turned the tide of the battle. Shigaraki's smirk faltered as he realized the odds were no longer stacked in his favor. The blonde, none other than Bakugo in his hero form, leaped off the wolf's back with a fierce determination in his eyes. "You think you can take them down that easily, Shigaraki?" Bakugo's voice was a thunderous challenge, echoing through the chaotic scene. The pros, coordinated and determined, unleashed a barrage of powerful attacks, forcing Shigaraki and the remaining villains to retreat. Wrath hissed in frustration, unable to maintain its hold under the relentless assault. Izuku, supported by Aza, watched with a mixture of relief and gratitude as the pros secured the area. Kat approached them, his expression softening slightly as he checked on Izuku's injuries. "You okay, Deku?" he asked, concerned. Izuku nodded, a grateful smile forming on his lips. "Thanks to you and everyone else. We wouldn't have made it without your help." Bakugo huffed, but there was a hint of pride in his eyes. "Don't get sentimental. We're heroes. It's our job to watch each other's backs." With the immediate threat neutralized, the group worked together to tend to the wounded and secure the area. The night, once filled with danger and uncertainty, slowly calmed as the city's defenders stood united against the forces of darkness. Izuku, leaning on Aza for support, looked up at the stars shining above. But the pair froze as an icy feeling filled their veins, and Aza breathed. Shigaraki's laughter pierced the night air. His amusement turned into a sinister grin as wrath, coiled around him, once more moved off him and began to transform. The snake's form shifted and twisted, growing larger and more menacing until it morphed into a massive black dragon, its scales shimmering with dark energy. The abyssal dragon, Shigaraki, now infused with dragon traits, sprouted horns from his head, a tail lashing behind him, claws extending from his fingers, and wings unfurling from his back. The dragon's eyes glowed with a malevolent intelligence, its presence radiating power and danger as it stood behind its human. Bakugo's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. "This just got a lot more complicated," he muttered, his expression hardened with determination. Izuku, standing beside Aza, felt a surge of adrenaline. "We can't let them win," he said, his voice firm despite the lingering pain from the earlier battle. The other heroes, including Aizawa and Nizu, prepared for the new threat. The dragon roared, its voice shaking the ground beneath them. With a flap of its wings, it launched into the air, unleashing torrents of dark energy toward the heroes below. Shigaraki smiled and looked up in wrath with a grin. His own dragon wings opened wide. He then turned his gaze to Deku and pointed a clawed finger at him. "You and that woodland jaguar were our only loose end, but you failed awaking the power within you. Now Japan will die, and their BLD is on your hand, Deku." The scene was grim as Izuku and Aza watched their friends and allies being defeated one by one, some falling to the ground lifeless while others struggled on the brink of death. Izuku's heart clenched with anguish as he heard their desperate cries for help. "Katsuki!" Izuku's voice rang out, filled with desperation and fear for his loved one. "Kai!" With determination fueled by love and a sense of responsibility, Izuku and Aza limped as fast as they could to reach the injured blonde and wolf's side. They knew time was running out, and they needed to act fast. Izuku immediately checked for a pulse on both Katsuki and Kai, relief flooding him as he felt their weak but present heartbeats. They were still alive, but their injuries were severe, and without immediate medical attention, they wouldn't last much longer. "We need to get them out of here," Izuku said, his voice urgent as he looked around for a safe escape route. But their attempts were interrupted by Shigaraki's mocking laughter. Izuku's gaze hardened as he stood up, moving away from Katsuki to confront the villain directly. "Shigaraki, stop this madness." Izuku's voice shook with a mixture of anger and desperation. "You're hurting innocent people. Why should I stop?" Shigaraki's voice dripped with malice, his dragon wings flaring behind him as he reveled in the chaos and pain he caused. "I'm enjoying every moment of your suffering." Wrath, the transformed dragon, landed behind Shigaraki, its eyes narrowed as it snarled down at Izuku and Aza. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm Izuku and Aza, a familiar voice broke through the chaos. Izuku's mother emerged from the crowd, her eyes filled with determination and love as she looked at her son and his loyal companion. Izuku Aza. Her voice carried across the battlefield, drawing their attention. Don't give up. You've faced challenges before, and you've always come out stronger. Your bond is your strength, and together, you can overcome anything. So you beat him, you hear me. You show him not to mess with this city, not to mess with us Midoriyas. Chip yowled in agreement. Aza let out a fierce growl, echoing Izuku's determination. They locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. With a shared nod, they turned back to face Shigaraki in wrath, ready to continue the fight with renewed determination and a fire burning in their hearts. I should kill her in front of you, Shigaraki laughed and moved faster than the human eye, lunging at Inko, claws outstretched. In this moment, Mist's voice echoed through his head. Just as only light can dispel darkness, only courage can vanquish fear. For in the heart of the Chosen's flame lies the power to vanquish the dragon's claim. And just like that, time stopped. The surge of power coursing through Izuku's veins was palpable as he leaped forward, catching Shigaraki's arm with his own clawed hand and throwing him away from his mother's reach. Izuku paused for a moment. A weight on his back and the sensation of sharp fangs against his lower lip caught him off guard. He turned to catch his reflection in the nearby shop's window, and what he saw left him stunned. His appearance had transformed into that of a part dragon, part human thing, with green scaled wings flaring from his human back, black horns reaching skyward from his head, contrasting his green curls, reptilian eyes staring back at him, and long green talons replacing his human nails. Turning to Aza, who had also transformed into a large green dragon, Izuku grinned. Aza snarled fiercely at wrath, showing off his own pearly white fangs in a display of depths. In a clash of titanic proportions, Izuku and Aza, now in their formidable dragon forms, faced off against the monstrous wrath and the transformed Shigaraki. The air crackled with energy as the two sides clashed, their roars echoing through the night sky. Wrath, with its massive dragon form and menacing presence, soared through the air with powerful wing beats. Its scales shimmered with dark energy, and its eyes glowed with a malevolent intelligence as it zeroed in on Aza, ready to engage in a fierce aerial battle. Aza, with agility and grace befitting his new dragon form, met Wrath head-on. Their clash sent shockwaves through the air, their roars of challenge echoing across the cityscape. Aza's green scales glistened under the sunlight as he maneuvered with speed and precision, evading Wrath's powerful strikes and retaliating with swift and calculated attacks of his own. Meanwhile, Shigaraki and Izuku engaged in a ferocious ground battle, their dragon forms exchanging devastating blows. Izuku's green-scaled wings acted as both shield and weapon, deflecting blasts of dark energy from Shigaraki's claws and wings. The ground beneath them trembled with each clash, buildings around them crumbling from the sheer force of their conflict. As the battle reached its peak, Wrath and Aza engaged in a breathtaking aerial dance. Their movements were a blur of speed and power as they exchanged claw strikes and breath attacks midair. Aza's determination to defeat Wrath traveled through the bond he shared with Deku and pushed Izuku to new limits. Izuku and Dragon Shigaraki's confrontation took on a surreal intensity. The clash between their dragon forms was like a clash of titans, each unleashing their full power in a bid for supremacy. Shigaraki, with his imposing black scales and menacing horns, exuded an aura of dark energy. His wings beat with thunderous force, sending shockwaves through the air with each flap. His eyes, now reptilian and filled with malice, locked onto Izuku with a predatory focus. Izuku, his green, scaled wings flaring behind him, met Shigaraki's gaze head-on. Determination burned in his reptilian eyes, his resolve unyielding despite the overwhelming odds. With a primal roar, he charged forward, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts from his jaws. The blast collided with Shigaraki's dark energy attacks, creating explosions that rocked the battlefield. The sheer force of their clash sent debris flying in all directions, adding to the chaos of the scene. Buildings trembled under the strain of their power, some collapsing in the wake of their battle. As the battle raged on, Izuku and Shigaraki traded blows with increasing ferocity. Izuku utilized his agility and speed, darting around Shigaraki's attacks and finding openings to strike. Shigaraki, fueled by rage and a longing for domination, unleashed devastating energy beams and claw swipes, each aimed at overwhelming Izuku. Despite the intensity of their battle, Izuku's thoughts remained clear. He remembered his friends, his loved ones, and the responsibility he bore as a hero. With each attack, he channeled his determination and resolve, pushing himself to new limits. Shigaraki, sensing Izuku's growing strength, redoubled his efforts. Dark tendrils of energy surrounded him, forming a barrier of darkness that repelled Izuku's attacks. The ground beneath Shigaraki cracked and fissured, the very earth rebelling against the sheer power being unleashed. In a moment of desperation and determination, Izuku gathered his remaining strength. With a final surge of energy, he unleashed a concentrated blast, aiming it directly at Shigaraki's chest. The blast struck true, engulfing Shigaraki in a blinding explosion of light and energy. When the dust settled, only smoldering remnants of their foe remained. Izuku stood amidst the aftermath, his dragon form fading as exhaustion washed over him. But in that moment, there was a sense of accomplishment and relief. The aftermath of the intense battle left Izuku and Aza exhausted and battered. As Izuku's dragon form faded due to exhaustion, he fell to his knees, panting heavily. His once white skin was now marred with burns and bloody wounds, a testament to the fierce battle he had endured. Aza, in his Jaguar form once more, mustered the last of his strength to reach Izuku's side. With a low growl of concern, he pressed close to Izuku, offering what little comfort he could in their shared exhaustion. Izuku's panting slowed as he caught his breath, his green eyes filled with weariness but also a sense of accomplishment. He had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious, but the toll on his body was undeniable. Heroes rushed to their aid, providing medical attention and support. Katsuki and Kai were safe, receiving the treatment they needed to recover from their injuries. The city, though scarred by the battle, was safe once more thanks to the heroics of Izuku, Aza, and their allies. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Izuku leaned against Aza, their bond stronger than ever after facing such a harrowing ordeal together. The sky above held the silent witness of their triumph and the sacrifices made to ensure the safety of others. 3 days later, Aza, you saw I turned into a dragon, right? I didn't get hit in the head or anything that actually happened, right? Aza asked, shaking a little. You were bright green like the gremlin you are. Aza laughed, although pain laced his body. The pair curled up on the crisp, white sheets of the hospital. Again, I hate the hospital. Deku turned his gaze to the small kitten curled against his side, noting the white bandages that covered most of his body. What would have happened if they didn't unlock the third form? How many would be dead because he could do what he was destined? Get out of your head, nerd. Oh, shut up, Kak. Wait, Kakin, are you okay? Aizo looked up at the blonde who was on the verge of death last time he saw him, and attempted to sit up, ignoring the pain throughout his body at the action. Whoa, Cat raced forwards and pushed him gently down on the bed. I'm fine. Recovery girl came in and healed me. I have just slept the past 2 days. Where's Kai? He's okay, right? Aza asked, concerned. Oh, the kitten cares, huffed the wolf, and he approached Aza, giving him an affectionate lick on the ear. You did it, babe. Izuku turned his head back to his blonde boyfriend. Looking into his crimson eyes, he relished in the pride, love, and adoration in his gaze. I guess I did. Turn the TV in and sung President Mike as he entered the room, Aizawa by his side. In response, Cat flicked the TV on, and breaking news flared across the screen. Good evening, citizens of Japan, the news anchor announced, the urgency evident in his voice. Tonight, we bring you a story of bravery and sacrifice, of heroes rising to defend us in our darkest hour. The screen switched to footage of the battle, showing the devastation wrought by the conflict between heroes and villains. Images of Izuku in his dragon form, Asa fighting alongside him, and the fierce clashes against Shigaraki and Wrath flashed across the screen. Tonight, we witnessed true heroism in the face of adversity, declared one news anchor, her voice filled with emotion. Deku and Asa, along with their fellow heroes, risked everything to protect us all. Their courage and sacrifice will not be forgotten. Social media platforms were flooded with messages of thanks and support for Deku and Asa, with hashtags such as #HeroesOfTheCity trending worldwide. Citizens shared stories of how their lives were touched by the actions of these extraordinary individuals, expressing profound gratitude for the safety and security they now enjoyed. "I owe my life to Deku and Asa," wrote one citizen on a popular forum. "Their bravery saved my family and me from certain danger. We can never repay them enough." Government officials and leaders of hero agencies praised Deku and Asa for their exceptional bravery and selflessness. "Their actions exemplify the true spirit of heroism," remarked a high-ranking official. "We are grateful beyond words for their service to our city and our world. The city owes a debt of gratitude to these brave heroes," the news anchor announced, footage showing Izuku in his human form, standing alongside Asa, the Jaguar by his side. Thanks to their courage and sacrifice, countless lives were saved and catastrophe was averted. It's moments like these that remind us of the true meaning of heroism. Another reporter commented, "Images of Izuku and Asa's battle displayed on screen. Their unwavering dedication to protecting others is an inspiration to us all." As the news segment concluded, the anchor's voice held a note of gratitude. "To Izuku and Asa, we thank you for your selflessness and bravery. The city stands united in appreciation for all you've done." Kat flicked the TV off and pressed a kiss to Dekus' cheek as he stared at the now black TV. "Then there is this," Aizawa said, passing Izuku a white envelope. The sound of tearing paper filled the room as he opened it and pulled out a small card. "There is no way," Aiza muttered, eyes filling with tears. April 19th, 2024. Dear Deku and Asa, on behalf of the government and the people of Musutafu, Japan, I extend our deepest gratitude and heartfelt thanks for your extraordinary heroism and selfless actions during the recent crisis. Your bravery and dedication have not gone unnoticed, and your efforts have undoubtedly saved countless lives and prevented widespread destruction. Your courage in facing such formidable adversaries and emerging victorious is a testament to the values of heroism and resilience that define our society. The sacrifices you made and the risks you took to protect others are deeply appreciated and will be remembered for generations to come. We understand the toll that such battles can take, both physically and emotionally, and we assure you that we are committed to providing any support and assistance you may need during your recovery and beyond. Your actions have inspired hope and unity in our city, reminding us of the strength that comes from standing together in the face of adversity. We are proud to call you our heroes and are grateful for everything you have done. Thank you once again for your unwavering dedication to the safety and well-being of our community. And we can't wait to see what the pro-hero Deku and his companion Asa will do next. Sincerely, the Prime Minister of Japan. After Izu had finished reading it out loud, he passed the small card he pulled out earlier to Kat. "They gave you your pro-hero license," Kat said, shocked. "Welcome to the team, Problem Child and Gremlin Cat." Aizawa chuckled. "I am not a gremlin," Asa roared. As Asa, Kai, Deku, and Kat were finally released from the hospital, they stepped out into the cool night air, feeling a sense of relief and freedom after their ordeal. The stars twinkled above, casting a serene glow over the city as they began their long walk back to UA. Despite the injuries and challenges they had faced, the group's spirits were high. Laughter and playful banter filled the air as they reminisced about their adventures and shared stories from their time in the hospital. The knights seemed to embrace them with a sense of camaraderie and resilience, reminding them of the bonds they shared as friends and heroes. Aza's jaguar form padded alongside them, his green eyes reflecting the starlight as he enjoyed the company of his companions. Kai's playful antics brought smiles to everyone's faces, his energy infectious as he teased Deku and Cat in good-natured jest. Deku, with a renewed sense of determination, walked with a confident stride, his gaze occasionally drifting to the stars above. Cat, ever the fiery spirit, added his own brand of humor to the mix, lightening the mood with his trademark sarcasm and wit. As they walked, the night sky gradually transformed, the stars becoming brighter and more numerous. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was always light and hope to guide them forward. Now is not the time to drop your guard. The four spun to look into the darkened alley beside them as a small pink projectile launched at Aza. Koa and Mist watched as their daughter hugged their son. "Your fight is not over yet," Mist whispered, her unseeing eyes looking at Aza and Izu. "This was just the beginning," Koa warned. Mist's eyes began to glow. In a time of shadows and shattered skies, when the dragon's wrath meets heroes' cries, Aza, noble guardian, fierce and true, with scales of green and heart anew. Izuku, bearer of power untold, with wings of courage and heart of gold. Together they rise, a bond unbroken, facing a threat yet to be spoken. The dragon's defeat, a victory won, but darker forces have just begun that a shadow looms on the horizon's edge, a threat unseen, a primal pledge. Through trials dire, they must prevail, their bond tested, yet never frail, for in their unity lies the key to face the unknown and set us free. Watch as Aza and Izuku stand tall in the face of darkness. They'll never fall, for destiny's path they're bound to tread, guiding us onward, our heroes ahead. "That's definitely not about us," Aza said after a short silence, defeat in his voice. "Your name isn't it silly?" Ivy meowed, booping her brother with her paw. "Ready for round two?" Cat chuckled without humor. "This is not the context I wanted to ever hear that sentence in." Izu pressed a palm to his forehead as Cat blushed a vibrant red. Thank you for joining us on this journey through What If Deku Had Jaguar as spirit animal. We hope you found it as captivating as we did. A big thank you to PhoenixFics for creating such an engaging story. Don't forget to visit their profile on Wattpad for more fantastic works. The link is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Zen and Fanfics for more intriguing explorations into fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we love hearing your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.